Inside the study of the Lord's mansion, Fang Hao saw Rebecca leaning on a lounge chair. She was naked, covered by that light blue blanket. Her fair, bony collarbone and round thighs were exposed to the air, but her face was full of fatigue. After these few interactions, Fang Hao had figured it out. Rebecca definitely had a habit of sleeping naked and was a complete couch potato. Madam Rebecca? Fang Hao bowed slightly. Why are you here so early? Rebecca said, yawning. Fang Hao sat down beside her. How was the harvest? He was naturally asking about the operation to capture the faceless. Last night, he could still hear the sounds of army movements and battles happening at the mansions of some nobles. It wasn't until this morning that the city gradually returned to peace. Not bad. We even caught a few big fish. Rebecca revealed a smile. No wonder Rebecca was in a good mood this morning. It turned out the operation was successful. This way, even if there were still some faceless who hadn't been caught, they would also become worried and lay low for a while. Those transmigrators living near Lysis City would also be safer. It's good that it was effective. Rebecca yawned, wrapped the blanket tighter around herself, stood up, took out 5 money bags from the desk, and placed them on the table. This is the agreed-upon payment. I didn't expect those guys would actually hire a mercenary group, Rebecca said, sitting down in a chair. Thank you, boss. May you become rich, Fang Hao said, putting away the money bags. Each bag contained 2,000 gold coins, so 5 bags were 10,000 coins. The reward was quite generous. I was also a bit surprised. Your subordinates are so powerful. 20 people killed over 100 people and successfully captured 6 alive. How did you do it? Rebecca continued to ask. Even if the army had conducted a siege, 20 people couldn't have taken down that manor. Perhaps they all had upset stomachs. When we arrived, they had lost most of their combat effectiveness. Fang Hao rubbed his chin, spouting nonsense. The main reason for their victory in battle was the effectiveness of Dimitka and Rolana. 1 orange tier hero, 1 dark gold tier hero. Forget 20 people. Even just the 2 of them could have taken down this manor. Otherwise, with only 20 bandits, the outcome would have been hard to say. Rebecca glared at him, but didn't ask further about the matter, continuing, The remaining guys will lay low for a while. Take this. I'll contact you in advance if anything happens. Saying this, Rebecca took out a communication conch and pushed it towards Fang Hao. This is a communication conch. It will make it convenient for me to contact you. Of course, it's only one way. Your small conch can only receive messages, Rebecca explained softly, fearing Fang Hao wouldn't recognize it. Oh, Fang Hao replied and directly put it away. After discussing the mission, the 2 chatted about other things for a while. Finally, Rebecca ordered uniforms for all the servants in the Lord's mansion from Fang Hao. This could also be seen as another form of support for Fang Hao coming out of the Lord's mansion. Fang Hao immediately took Anja and the others and left Lysis City directly. They transferred at the Grizzly Bear village and returned to the territory. 2 bone dragons landed in front of the Lord's mansion, and Fang Hao leaped down from the dragon's back. They carry the fossil and come with me to the skeleton conversion ground. Fang Hao stopped a skeleton troll. The skeleton troll picked up the mantis man fossil and followed Fang Hao towards the conversion ground. Arriving in front of the conversion ground, the fossil was directly thrown in. The sand in the pool began to churn, gradually swallowing the fossil. Skeleton mantis man conversion countdown, 6 hours, 59 minutes, 58 seconds. Seeing the countdown appear, Fang Hao's heart instantly filled with joy. This meant that the mantis man had begun converting, and judging by the conversion time, its rank was definitely not low. He remembered that when the bone dragon was converting, the time was only 8 hours. With a 7-hour conversion time, the mantis man's rank wouldn't be much lower. Now he just had to wait for the conversion time to finish and see what tier of troop it was, returning to the Lord's mansion. He saw Rolana sitting coldly in the hall. The maids didn't dare to get close either, always walking around her. This time, Rolana returned with Fang Hao because she needed the tools Fang Hao made and the seeds for planting herbs. Fang Hao also didn't want this woman to stay here for long. In an open space, he used the 100-fold increase to produce a large batch of tools, hoes, iron shovels, mining picks, and so on. Rolana, the tools are ready. Fang Hao called out from the doorway. Rolana walked outside and saw several skeletons organizing a large pile of tools on the ground. What about the seeds? Rolana continued to ask. They are all ready for you, right here. Fang Hao handed the seeds to Rolana. Okay, Rolana nodded. After all the tools were packed and secured onto the bone dragon's back, she rode the bone dragon directly and left. After seeing Rolana off, Fang Hao returned to the Lord's mansion to eat the dinner prepared by Year. Night fell in the spring of life. Finally, Anja had left. Aya wrapped her arms around Fang Hao's neck, her fingers leaving a few marks on his shoulders. Her legs were tightly wrapped around his waist, her teeth clenched, her body moving with his sway. After a long time. The two leaned against the pool edge, recovering their strength. "Yer, tomorrow, see if there are any maids who are familiar with herbs," Fang Hao said softly, leaning against the side of the pool. Yer seemed a bit tired, lying weakly beside him. But hearing Fang Hao's words, she still agreed. "Oh, okay, master." Fang Hao thought for a moment. "Right, they also need to be able to read." "Oh, okay." Seeing that Yer was truly tired, he carried her back to the room to rest. Early the next morning, Yer had already gotten up and left. Fang Hao also turned over and got out of bed. After a simple wash, he put on his clothes and went downstairs. "Master, Scholar Nielsen is waiting for you outside the door." As soon as he walked down the stairs, a maid cleaning the floor said to Fang Hao, "Nielsen is out?" Hearing this news, Fang Hao's heart filled with joy. The territory's only cultured person had finally finished his seclusion. "Okay, I understand," Fang Hao replied and quickly walked outside. As soon as he stepped out of the Lord's mansion, he saw Nielsen sitting on the bench by the door with a skeleton hero wearing a long robe standing behind him. "Good morning, Lord." Nielsen saw Fang Hao, stood up, and bowed slightly. Nielsen had been making heroes in the Organ Museum. He had been working continuously for nearly half a month, and Fang Hao was worried he would collapse from exhaustion. "You've worked hard, Scholar Nielsen." Fang Hao also showed a smile. "It's what I should do, Lord." After Nielsen finished speaking, he took a step aside. "Chong Shi, greet the Lord." The skeleton hero behind him stepped forward, knelt on one knee, and said, "Greetings, Lord." Chong Shi, blue 5-tier hero. The moment Fang Hao saw the skeleton hero, he recognized its identity. Heavy Arrow, Cyril, the former city lord of Prol City. Later, because he colluded with the blood race, he was surrounded and killed by skeleton trolls in battle. His body was transported back to the territory and made into a skeleton hero by Nelson. "Welcome to join us, Heavy Arrow," Fang Hao said with a smile. "Thank you, my lord." Heavy Arrow stood up and respectfully stood to the side. Heavy Arrow, blue tier 5 hero, faction, Undead. Template blue, racial traits, Undead, hollow bones, light weakness, legion skills, tactical advantage, superb archery, dagger formation, marksman commander. Skills, armor piercing, piercing snipe, ready to go, ballistics, crippling shot. Inherent skills, advanced shooting mastery, intermediate command mastery, advanced crossbow mastery, tactical advantage. The army led by this unit has its equipment weight increased by 15%. When attacking under defensive structures, attack speed plus 2%, attack plus 5%. Superb archery. The army led by this unit gains corresponding bonuses based on the weapons used. Bow weapons, damage plus 8%. Crossbow weapons, critical hit damage, plus 150%. Firearm weapons, reload plus 5%. Critical hit chance, plus 5%. Dagger formation. The army led by this unit, when equipped with daggers as secondary weapons, gains plus 110% dagger damage. Marksman commander. The marksman army led by this unit gains reload plus 110%, range plus 115%. Armor piercing, passive. Crossbow attacks ignore. 15% of the target's physical defense. Piercing snipe, active. When using a crossbow, can attack multiple targets in a straight line. Ready to go, passive. Enters shooting state, attack plus 20%, accuracy plus 5%. Ballistics, passive. When equipped with bow or crossbow weapons, accuracy plus 20%. Crippling shot, passive. When equipped with a heavy crossbow, hitting an enemy unit's body inflicts a severe injury state. Description: a product of the Undying Lich, not recognized by the god of Undead. This hero cannot be leveled up or advanced. Heavy Arrow's attributes were entirely those of a ranged unit. Various bonuses for crossbow skills. No wonder he was cut down in one go during the battle. He was truly no good in melee. However, the territory really lacked a bow and crossbow hero. Tactical advantage provides a 15% equipment weight bonus, allowing archers to carry more arrows and ammunition, or even replace their leather armor. With plate armor, superb archery provides attribute bonuses based on the weapon. Based on the bonus ratio, it is clearly biased towards crossbows. However, the two-handed light crossbow Fang Hao had was green equipment, not as useful as the high-speed hardwood short bow equipped by marksmen. Furthermore, in large-scale battles, the loading speed and range of crossbows are lower than those of bows. Firearms increased reload and critical hit, so mixing them in can be considered for equipment. Marksman commander, further increased reload and range. It can be said that Heavy Arrow's 3 legion skills are all quite good. They provide very practical attribute bonuses to bow armies. Don't underestimate these few percentage points of bonuses. When 1,000,000 archers fire simultaneously, even 1% will play a significant role. Skeleton. Heroes here with Fang Hao are definitely not for duels or demonstrating individual ability. Once on the battlefield. Their primary role is to provide attribute bonuses to units. After a while, Heavy Arrow returned wearing leather armor, carrying a bow and arrow on his back and a dagger at his waist. What, you don't have the weapon you used before? Fang Hao saw the bow and arrow behind him was just an ordinary high-speed hardwood short bow. No, my lord, Heavy Arrow replied flatly. It's all right. When we find a suitable weapon in the future, I'll get you a new one, Fang Hao said comfortingly. When he fought Cyril, he was only holding an iron sword. He really didn't see Heavy Arrow's weapon. He would replace it for him when he got a better weapon. Thank you, my lord. Okay, you can go to the city gate first and get acquainted with the territory's situation with Giant Wall. I'll arrange a suitable task for you then, Fang Hao continued. Yes, my lord. Heavy Arrow bowed again and turned to leave. Now only Fang Hao and Nelson remained. They sat down on the long bench. Fang Hao then told Nelson in detail about the recent events in the territory. So, the head and wings in the Organ Museum belong to that Red Duke, Nelson said. When he first came out, he saw the head and wings placed in the hall. It was easy to recognize the characteristics of the blood race. Yes, I arranged for people to search the entire mountain, but they only found the head and wings. But that's good too, after all. We also need to consider Lola's emotions. Fang Hao actually understood Lola's feelings. If he were to be drained of blood and dismembered by someone he deeply trusted, he would also be filled with hatred after being resurrected. Considering the emotions of his subordinate heroes was also something a lord needed to consider. Otherwise, if the heroes are two-faced towards you, the territory will be difficult to develop. The lord's consideration on this point is very correct, Nelson agreed with Fang Hao's idea. Oh, right. Look at this. As Fang Hao spoke, he took out the demon doll notes from his storage space, seeing that Fang Hao could use spatial abilities to store items. The soul fire in Nelson's hollow eye sockets trembled slightly. He was surprised by Fang Hao's growth during this time, being able to access spatial magic. But he didn't say much. Fang Hao handed the notes to Nelson and continued, Scholar Nelson, look at this. Nelson took it, opened the notes directly, and examined them carefully. Alchemy array patterns. It seems to be array patterns for making a type of puppet. It involves alchemy array patterns and puppetry. A lot of relatively profound knowledge. Nelson said as he looked at the contents of the notes, Undead have endless years. They have plenty of time to access and learn many kinds of knowledge. Even if they are not proficient, they are definitely more knowledgeable than others. Yes, I found this. In the basement of an abandoned orphanage, it records the method of making a kind of demon doll. Fang Hao didn't hide anything and told Nelson everything he knew. Nelson listened silently and also understood why Fang Hao was collecting the limbs of dead heroes. He was preparing for the demon doll on this note. This is a good idea. It can greatly improve your personal safety. Nelson also agreed with the production of the demon doll. Cough, cough. Fang Hao coughed lightly twice and continued, Scholar Nelson, see if you can make this demon doll. After all, his time and experience were limited. If he were to study this note himself, he would need to start learning alchemy knowledge from scratch, which was clearly not something that could be completed in a short time. Instead, Nelson was more suitable for making the demon doll. He was not only knowledgeable, but also skilled in handling and making corpses. If Nelson was interested in this area, entrusting him with the research would be the best outcome, but Nelson had just walked out of the Organ Museum, and Fang Hao had already arranged a new task for him. He felt a little embarrassed. That's nothing. This kind of knowledge derived from alchemy is very valuable. I can study it when I go back and see if I have the ability to complete the production of the demon doll. Nelson did not refuse, and was even very interested in the content of the notes. Lich, Nelson's loyalty to you has increased by 2, current. Loyalty is 87. At the same time that Nelson agreed, loyalty directly increased by 2 points. Nelson joined the territory the earliest, but his loyalty increased very slowly. Every point seemed very important. Alchemy notes, notes containing professional knowledge like this. For an outsider like Fang Hao, they might not be very useful, but for someone who studies alchemy, these notes are priceless treasures. Even if they are not interested in the demon doll on it, the recorded knowledge is enough to give them some inspiration and open new doors. Now, not only were the notes handed over, but loyalty also increased. It was an unexpected gain. That's great. Fang Hao immediately showed joy and continued, When I have time, I also plan to study alchemy knowledge. Lord, if you are interested in alchemy array patterns, you can start by learning some introductory knowledge. We have plenty of time and can learn slowly, Nelson continued. In Nelson's heart, Fang Hao's transformation ceremony was only a matter of time. Undead, in their endless years, have enough time to delve into knowledge they are interested in. Okay, I will learn from scratch, Fang Hao nodded. The two chatted for a while longer. Yer came to call Fang Hao for breakfast, and Nelson also returned to the Organ Museum to study the notes in his hand. After breakfast, Fang Hao sat in the hall looking at the nervous rabbit girl with her head down below. This was the rabbit girl Yer had chosen according to Fang Hao's requirements, who was literate and knew some herbal knowledge. He planned to let her study Trissy's herbal notes. This world, even with the existence of alchemy potions, most residents still relied on the herbalism of the temple's assistant priests when injured. "What's your name? How old are you?" Fang Hao looked at the rabbit girl below. The maid was wearing a black and white maid outfit, had a melon-shaped face, and a pair of gray rabbit ears. Her figure was a bit thin, and she still looked like an undeveloped child. "Master, my name is Hongguo, and I'm 19 years old," the maid answered with her head down, secretly glancing up. She was among the last batch of maids bought. She was always responsible for the outer cleaning, and didn't have many opportunities to see Fang Hao. But she often heard other maids mention that the master's personality was relatively easygoing. The girl was not short in height, just a bit thin. She always looked younger than her age. "Your name is Hongguo? Who gave you that name? Why is it the same as a fruit?" Fang Hao asked curiously. "There was a fruit called Hongguo, and it wasn't very tasty." "Master, I named myself," Hongguo answered softly. Hongguo had no parents and had difficulty getting enough to eat since birth. When she was really hungry before, she would run into the woods and find a kind of red fruit to eat. Although it tasted sour and astringent now, it was the best fruit she had ever eaten at the time. Moreover, it could fill her stomach. Later, she learned that the fruit's name was Hongguo, so she also named herself Hongguo. She hoped to eat this fruit every day in the future. "Well, actually, it's quite nice. You know herbs and you're literate?" Hearing Fang Hao's praise, Hongguo's expression instantly brightened. She said, "Master, I know a little, and I'm literate." "Okay, I have a set of notes on temple herbalism here. Take them back and study them," Fang Hao continued. Herbalism didn't have the effect of alchemy potions, but it also had its own purpose. The assistant priests in the temple treated the city's residents through herbalism. He didn't necessarily need to build a temple, but he could establish pharmacies in each city to increase the survival rate of the population in each city. "Yes, master." The maid stepped forward and took the notes into her hands. "All right, you can go back now. Take more hot spring baths and eat more meat." Fang Hao didn't forget to instruct her. Being too thin was also not good. "Thank you, master. I will pay attention." Hongguo bowed again and slowly exited the room. Standing outside the door, Hongguo took a deep breath. After calming down for a while, she looked at the notes in her hand and excitedly ran towards her residence. After sending Hongguo away, Fang Hao spent the whole day holed up in his room. He took out all the books on magic. While reading, he recorded important knowledge in his notes to ensure that he could find it quickly when needed, instead of flipping through the books page by page. Again, time flew by, and it was already 3 p.m. Ding! Suddenly, the Lord's book sent a notification sound. Fang Hao opened the Lord's book to check and found that it was a message from Shu Yang. "Fang Hao, boss, I got the map. Does what you said before still count?" "It counts," Fang Hao replied directly. "Okay, Fang Hao, boss, I will take people to leave tonight. Is it convenient to trade now?" Shu Yang continued. It seemed that Shu Yang was in a hurry. "Yes, I'll have someone prepare the equipment. Tell me about the trolls. Has the war started?" Fang Hao continued. There was a lot of equipment in the warehouse, so there was no need to arrange for people to prepare it. He needed to use this opportunity to see what the situation was like on the other side. Shu Yang's side fell into a brief silence, and then a piece of information was sent directly. "The Rockhead tribe, leading the other troll tribes, has already started fighting the Bloodthroat tribe. The battle is very fierce. If I don't leave soon, we will be the ones who die." "Has the war already started?" "Who won?" Fang Hao continued. "To ask. The people of the Rockhead tribe are attacking the Bloodthroat tribe's lair all the way. They are expected to reach the Bloodthroat tribe the day after tomorrow for the decisive battle. The battles between trolls are head-on. Once a melee breaks out, it basically ends only when the other side's forces are wiped out. The troll coalition led by the Rockhead tribe, even though they had attacked all the way to the Bloodthroat's lair. Both sides suffered heavy casualties. Similarly, the Rockhead side also faced many problems. Chu Yang was sure that in the final battle at Bloodthroat City, Chief Baguette would definitely stew these humans and use them as food for the troll army. Therefore, he planned to leave tonight. "All right, I've put it up for sale. You can trade directly," Fang Hao said. "Thank you, boss." Shu Yang immediately thanked him. Trade completed. Obtained: Troll Marching Map, Troll Heavy Shield Blueprint, Troll Horned Helmet Blueprint, Black Iron Throwing Axe Blueprint, Troll Stone 242, Barbaric Trace 7, Violent Trace 12, Essence of Destruction 8, Soul Crystals 72. The two completed the transaction. The other party's items also appeared in Fang Hao's hands. He put the rare materials in a box to the side and checked the map first. Map: Ogre Marching Map. Category: Single-page map. Description: Especially drawn map that records the route distribution and tribal locations of the Bloodied Mountains. Use the Lord's book to collect it. On the large map, the terrain and roads of the Bloodied Mountains, as well as the locations of various tribes, appeared. It was the same as imagined. The roads were winding and twisting. Without a route map, it would be difficult to find the correct route, and the army might even enter dangerous areas. With a map, a lot of trouble can be avoided. Fang Hao glanced at the map and privately messaged Chu Yang again. He asked, "Which one on the map is the Bloodthroat tribe?" The map only had locations, without any marked information. The southernmost location on the map is the Bloodthroat tribe. The further north you go, the harsher the living conditions become, Chu Yang replied. Fang Hao compared it with the map. The southernmost location was the Bloodthroat tribe. It was very close to the Dragon Burial Cave, where he obtained the Bone Dragon. If he sent troops from the Bloodied Fortress, then the first tribe to attack would be the Bloodthroat tribe. The Ogre Coalition, led by the Rockhead tribe's leader, would launch an attack on the Bloodthroat Mountains the day after tomorrow, so he still had some time to prepare. After comparing the map information, Fang Hao checked the remaining blueprints. Ogre Heavy Shield, blue, Iron 12, Cast Iron Block 8, Thick Tough Leather 10, Metal Parts 22. Description: the best defense is to make your shield bigger and thicker. When it's comparable to a city gate, do you think the enemy can pick up a battering ram? Ogre Heavy Shield, obviously a type of heavy shield equipped by ogres. The skeleton hero Giant Wall has a legion skill called Ogre Shield Formation. The ogre-shaped units he leads and gains shield proficiency as a legion bonus. At that time, he can form an ogre shield formation, with all of them holding thick and huge heavy shields, forming an indestructible copper wall and iron barrier on the battlefield. Continue checking the second blueprint. Ogre Ram Horn Helmet, green, Iron 3, Cast Iron Block 2, Thick Tough Leather 5, Ram Horn 2. Description: if your hands aren't enough, you can use the ram horns on your head to smash the enemy's skull. Ogre Helmet, but it's only green quality. The Skeleton Ogre currently wears the Ogre Heavy Helmet, which is also green quality, and there isn't much difference between the two. Black Iron Throwing Axe, green, Hard Tough Wood 1, Iron 3, Cast Iron Block 2, Leather 1. Description: within 100 meters, a throwing axe is often more useful than an arrow. In battles with ogres, many ogres were seen to be skilled in using throwing axes. However, this type of ranged weapon is rare among orcs and humans. They mostly use crossbows or throwing knives rather than throwing axes. After collecting all the blueprints, Fang Hao held the remaining rare materials and opened the door to go downstairs. He stopped a passing maid. Have all the heroes in the territory come to the hall for a meeting. Yes, master. Lord's Hall. Fang Hao sat on the bone throne below. Him sat all the heroes who remained in the main city. Nelson, Dimitka, Angia, Blacksword, Giant Wall, Heavy Arrow, a total of 6 heroes. I just received definite news that there is internal strife within the ogre tribes inside the Bloodied Mountains. I plan to send troops to attack the Bloodied Mountains and eliminate the threat from the north in one fell swoop, Fang Hao explained. The situation of the Bloodied Mountains and his own thoughts. He told all the heroes present. Inside the hall, after a brief silence, Dimitka spoke. Lord, the terrain of the Bloodied Mountains is rugged. If the army rashly enters the mountains, not only will the army be in great danger, but even the transportation of supplies will be difficult. Demitka's concern was also the map issue. Don't worry about that. I have already obtained a map of the Bloodied Mountains. The undead army won't need too many supplies for the attack, which can greatly reduce the burden, Fang Hao explained, opening the map in the Lord's book for everyone to see. The undead army doesn't need to sleep or eat, and the transportation of supplies is mainly arrows and equipment. This has already greatly reduced the burden of transportation. With a map, marching is not a problem at all. After a group of heroes finished looking at the map, Dimitka spoke again. Lord, with a map, there won't be any problems pacifying the Bloodied Mountains. This time, with the territory's military strength as long as there is a map, even if the ogres don't have a civil war, pacifying the Bloodied Mountains won't be a problem at all. So, this battle isn't too dangerous. It's just a matter of time. All right, I'll assign tasks to everyone. Fang Hao looked at the crowd and continued. Black Sword, Heavy Arrow. After the meeting, you ride the Bone Dragon to the Bloodied Fortress and, together with Blackthorn, tally up the required equipment. And prepare enough supplies. Yes, Lord. Black Sword and Heavy Arrow stood up to receive their orders. These 2 skeleton heroes both possess tactical proficiency and command proficiency, so there won't be any problems managing supplies. Giant Wall, you gather the skeleton ogres in the territory. I plan to form an ogre shield soldier legion led by you. You will also go to the Bloodied Mountains to participate in this battle, Fang Hao said to Giant Wall. Giant Wall stood up, his tall body kneeling on one knee. Yes, Lord. That's all for the current arrangements. Does anyone have any other ideas? Fang Hao continued to ask. The hall was silent again for a moment. Dimitka tentatively asked, Lord, do you need me to go to the Bloodied Mountains? In the Bloodied Mountains, there's also an orange Tier 3 hero, Flesh Fist, Caius. He poses a certain danger, but Fang Hao didn't plan to let Dimitka and Nelson participate in this battle. Let's see how things go first. If there are any special circumstances during the battle, we'll make arrangements then. Fang Hao shook his head. All right, Lord. Dimitka nodded and sat back in his seat. The undead army stationed at the Bloodied fortress numbers 3 million, and the number of ogres themselves is not large. After the Civil War, the number of personnel will be greatly reduced. It can be said that it is a completely crushing force, even the orange Tier 3 Flesh Fist, Caius. Under such a large force, there is no threat. It's just a matter of consuming. Some troops. Dimitka and Angia need to protect Fang Hao's safety, to prevent any problems that the Faceless Ones might cause. It's hard to say whether the other party noticed a series of activities that he cooperated with Rebecca in. As for Nelson, although he is also an orange hero, but his characteristic is that he is a lich, possessing the ability to create skeleton heroes, rather than fighting and leading armies. Before, there weren't many heroes to choose from, but now there are enough. Heroes. Fang Hao didn't plan to send Nelson, who had just come out of the Organ Museum, back to the battlefield. After all, after the war, he still needs to continue creating skeleton heroes. After explaining the tasks, Fang Hao said, All right, everyone act according to the plan. If there are any problems, raise them in time. Yes, Lord. The crowd bowed and left the Lord's Hall one after another. Meeting adjourned. Fang Hao once again used Divine Advent to inform He Jing, stationed at the Bloodstained Fortress, and Fireblade, stationed at the Coldwind Mountains, about the situation in the Bloodstained Mountains. The Bloodstained Fortress was garrisoned by 3 million undead troops. The Coldwind Fortress also had 1.2 million troops. After receiving Fang Hao's message, they had already entered a state of preparation. Once the war started, they would launch an attack on the blood-stained mountains from the two fortresses. After dinner, Fang Hao walked out of the Lord's Manor. The originally peaceful territory had become unusually busy. Carts were pulling equipment and supplies from the warehouse. Fang Hao glanced at the busy skeletons. He didn't idle either, heading directly to the skeleton barracks area to prepare for the upcoming battle. The two fortresses had a total of 4.2 million troops stationed, so there was no rush to increase the number of undead soldiers. He first arrived at the skeleton conversion pool, planning to see if there were any needed troop types. As soon as he approached, he saw the Mantis Men who had completed their transformation yesterday. Skeleton Mantis Man, Tier 8. Even after being transformed into skeletons, the skeletal structure of the skeleton Mantis Men still closely resembled the appearance of arthropods, and presented a rusty iron-red color, looking like the color of iron after it rusts, 3 meters tall, as thin as a bamboo pole. The mantis-like pointed head, the mandibles constantly moving, their arms were slender, possessing hands and 4 fingers, not mantis blades. Fang Hao stood in front of the Mantis Man, carefully examining it, and the mantis. Man gave Fang Hao a slight salute. This action startled Fang Hao slightly. They have intelligence? Do you possess intelligence? Fang Hao tentatively asked. The Mantis Man's mandibles continued to move without any response. Fang Hao then issued several commands in succession. But the skeleton Mantis Man did not show any special intelligence, stiffly executing the issued commands. It seemed that they were only more polite than ordinary skeletons. With the addition of a salute, he continued to check the attributes of the Mantis Man, hoping not to be disappointed. Skeleton Mantis Man. Tier 8. Faction Undead. Race traits Undead, Hollow Skeleton, Weakness to Light. Skills Passive Vision, Standing Jump, Lone Ranger, Weapon Master. Inherent skills Intermediate Strength Mastery, Intermediate Combat Mastery, Intermediate Agility Mastery, Passive Vision Passive. This unit can perceive attacks within a certain range outside of its line of sight. Standing Jump Passive. This unit does not need a running start and can jump a maximum of 10 meters and a maximum height of 5 meters. A landing buffer can minimize damage from high altitude falls. Lone Ranger Passive. If there are no friendly units within 3 meters of this unit, all attributes closer to 80%, attack power closer to 10%. Weapon Master Passive. Proficient in the use of any melee weapon. Equipping a melee weapon grants the skill Multiple Attack. Description: Slickrin Mantis Men are natural weapon masters. They are proficient in and adept at using various melee weapons, some gifted. Mantis Men will even innately release psionic energy. All passives, but they seemed relatively powerful. Only this Lone Ranger skill made Fang Hao's brow furrow instantly. What the heck? Only when there are no friendly units within 3 meters will the attributes increase by 80%, which means that the Mantis Man will only truly reach the level of Tier 8 when this skill is triggered. However, his tactics have always been to bully the few with the many when the fields are full of friendly troops who would give you 3 meters of space to perform. By that time, the enemy's lair would have been emptied and they would be starting to clean up the battlefield. It was somewhat incomprehensible why such an attribute would appear, although he complained. But at the moment, the Mantis Man was the highest level melee troop that could be recruited in the territory, and it was accidentally obtained from a fossil, so he couldn't be too serious. In addition to the skeleton Mantis Men, another melee troop type was also unlocked in the conversion field, skeleton ghoul. Transformed from the ghouls brought back from the orphanage, they had already been transformed. Before, but after having heroes, Fang Hao rarely approached this place. He had temporarily forgotten about it. Now, opening the recruitment list of the conversion field, he remembered skeleton ghoul, Tier 3, faction, Undead. Race traits, Undead, Hollow Skeleton, Weakness to Light. Skills, Abyss Origin, Bite, Claw Strike. Inherent skills, low-level Strength Mastery, low-level Combat Mastery, low-level Climbing Mastery. Abyss Origin, passive. Origin is related to the Abyss. Fighting near the Abyss Rift. All attributes of this unit plus 150%. Bite, active. Like the teeth of a beast, pouncing and biting the target unit. Claw Strike, active. Launching an attack with claws towards the enemy, dealing slashing damage. Description: the endless hunger for the flesh and blood of humanoid creatures drives them to peer into human villages in the night. After being converted in the skeleton conversion pool, they changed from Tier 5 to Tier 3, but the attributes were really average, biting and clawing, feeling not much different from transformed beasts. With this comparison, he instantly felt that the skeleton Mantis Man was more practical. After looking at the 2 newly unlocked troop types, Fang Hao continued to confirm the troop types that had already been unlocked in the conversion field: Skeleton Beast, Tier 1, Skeleton Soldier, Tier 1, Skeleton Warg, Tier 2, Skeleton Ostrich Beast, Tier 2, Skeleton Warrior, Tier 3, Skeleton Giant Bat, Tier 3, Skeleton Ghoul, Tier 3, Skeleton Giant Troll, Tier 5, Skeleton, Cyclops Troll, Tier 7, Skeleton Mantis Man, Tier 8, Bone Dragon, Tier 10. Not many new troop types had been unlocked during this time. What was brought back were all duplicates. This time, to attack the blood-stained mountains, the troops were already sufficient, but to make the battle easier, it was still necessary to recruit some troop types with special skills. First, he looked at the recruitment conditions for the Skeleton Mantis Man. After all, they were Tier 8 troops. Skeleton Mantis Man, Wriggling Spine, 8, Traces of Death 5, Star Silver 3, Enshrouded Mist, Crystal 5. The exclusive material for recruitment was actually Enshrouded Mist Crystal. Looking at it this way, the Mantis Men should belong to the fairy race. He looked at the warehouse. The rest of the quantities were sufficient. Only the Enshrouded Mist Crystal only had 12 pieces, which meant that they could be recruited 2 times. Recruit quantity 2, choose to recruit. Hundredfold amplification. Triggered, recruited, 2 into 2. Skeleton Mantis Men. 200 rays of light appeared, and the Skeleton Mantis Men appeared scattered on the surrounding open space. Go outside and stand by first. Fang Hao directly ordered. The Skeleton Mantis Men saluted again and pushed off with their feet. Swish, swish, swish! One figure after another leaped high and jumped towards the city gate. In the blink of an eye, not a single Mantis Man could be seen around. Damn, so fierce. Fang Hao was a little surprised by the speed of the Skeleton Mantis Men. Figures shot out like springs attached to their feet. In the blink of an eye, they were gone. These 8th tier units still have some advantages and characteristics. Looking in the direction where the Mantis Men disappeared, Fang Hao continued to recruit skeleton giant bats. These giant bats have always been very useful, giving a feeling of a swarm tactic, especially after obtaining a large number of bloodstones in the Radiant Moon Highlands. Not recruiting more would really be a waste. The storage of bloodstones was 1124. He adjusted the recruitment quantity to 500. Confirmed recruitment. Hundredfold increase, triggered recruiting 5,500 skeleton giant bats. 50,000 skeleton giant bats appeared instantly, darkening the sky. Flapping their wings, they landed all around. Go outside and stand by. Fang Hao still gave the same command. Upon hearing the command, the skeleton giant bats turned and flew directly out of the city. With the departure of the giant bats, Fang Hao continued recruiting. Hundredfold increase. Triggered, recruiting 10,000 skeleton minotaurs. Hundredfold increase triggered, recruiting 60,600 skeleton Cyclops trolls. Fang Hao consecutively recruited skeleton Minotaurs and skeleton Cyclops trolls. Minotaurs possess, Frenzied Charge, a very useful skill for breaking through enemy formations. And skeleton Cyclops trolls are tier 7. They are 2 tiers higher than ordinary skeleton trolls, and can be considered an expansion of personnel for Giant Wall's troll shield formation. As Fang Hao took control of the Chillwind mountain range and the Radiant Moon highlands, he could continuously obtain Beast Fang stones and Bloodstones from both locations. Although the output speed of these two materials is not fast, it has alleviated the problem of recruitment materials for the two factions' units. Conversely, the number of troll stones in his hand is still limited. He could only recruit 60,000 people. Fang Hao continued to have these units go out and stand by, and he himself also walked towards the city gate. Walking out of the city gate, one could see the dense, unarmed bone army. They stood together in an orderly manner according to their unit type, waiting for the next command. At this moment, Giant Wall, carrying his heavy shield, quickly walked over. Lord, all the skeleton trolls guarding the main city have been assembled. Giant Wall placed his heavy shield to the side and said, "How many people?" Behind Giant Wall was the assembled army of skeleton trolls, mostly 5th-tier skeleton trolls with a small number of skeleton Cyclops trolls. They held mattocks and giant maces. However, their armor was the Troll Heavy Armor 3-piece set. Lord, the number is probably over 200,000. Giant Wall thought for a moment and said, the number was too large for Giant Wall to count the exact figure alone. Of course, Fang Hao only needed a rough number to facilitate the crafting of equipment. Adding the 60,000 I just recruited, that's nearly 300,000, Fang Hao said. Fang Hao first crafted 60,600 pieces of armor and mattocks for the newly recruited skeleton Cyclops trolls. He had them stand in the troll formation as well. Then he found the Troll Heavy Shield crafting blueprint. He adjusted the crafting quantity to 3,000. Hundredfold increase triggered, obtained 33,000 Troll Heavy Shields. Bang, bang, bang. Shields as huge as doors appeared from the air, piling up in the open spaces around. The Troll Heavy Shields were not as large as the shield in Giant Wall's hand, but their size was also considerable. The height of the heavy shields was close to 3 meters, and the width was around 2 meters, making them very heavy. On the back of the heavy shield, there was a support stand. This means that the stand could be opened to make the heavy shield stand upright in front of them, completely forming an indestructible brass wall. Troll Heavy Shield, blue, category shield. Defense, level 3. Defense, ability, Giant Rock Bulwark, durability. Plus 80%, enemy units attacking the shield have their movement speed reduced by 5% and attack speed reduced by 10%. Description, the best defense is to make your shield bigger and thicker. When it's comparable to a city gate, do you think the enemy can lift a battering ram? Blue quality with a skill is quite rare. The included, Giant Rock Bulwark, also fits the shield's attributes very well. It increases durability by 80%, and enemies attacking the shield will also be slowed. Durability is equivalent to the shield having higher durability, making it less likely to be damaged when attacked. When the trolls held them, Fang Hao also discovered that the way the giant shields were used was completely different from the sword and shield of the human faction. When a troll picked up a heavy shield, they would put away the mattock in their hand. They would move while holding the shield with both hands. It was not like moving with a shield in one hand and a weapon in the other. Fang Hao continued to plan on crafting throwing axes. Giant Wall, I plan to equip the skeleton trolls with throwing axes. How many do you think is appropriate for each person? Fang Hao continued to ask. Lord, usually 3 or 5 are enough, Giant Wall replied. Throwing axes are not like arrows that need to be carried in large quantities. Due to the short throwing distance of throwing axes, they are thrown when both sides are approaching. Carrying too many would be unused and hinder movement. Okay. Fang Hao agreed and began crafting throwing axes. He adjusted the crafting quantity to 9,000 taller confirmed crafting. Hundredfold increase triggered. Obtained 9,000 throwing axes. Bang, bang! Countless throwing axes fell from the sky, scattered on the open ground around. Giant Wall, you command the distribution of the equipment, Fang Hao said, looking at the equipment scattered everywhere. Yes, Lord. Giant Wall nodded and began commanding the skeleton trolls to step forward and pick up the weapons on the ground. After dealing with Giant Wall's side, he continued to the location where the skeleton minotaurs were standing by. He crafted armor and weapons. He also had the maid call Anja and Dimitka. He had Anja be responsible for commanding the skeleton minotaurs to equip their gear. Fang Hao took Dimitka and returned to the location where the skeleton mantis men were standing by. Skeleton mantis. Men stood in place. Their heads moved slightly as the two approached. giving a feeling that they were a little smarter than ordinary skeletons, but not by much. These mantis men have rather special attributes and are proficient in various melee weapons. What kind of weapons do you think should be equipped for them to maximize their combat effectiveness? Fang Hao asked Dimitka. There wasn't much choice for armor. Although their skeletons weren't large, their height was close to that of skeleton. Trolls, they could wear troll equipment, but being proficient in all melee weapons made it somewhat difficult for Fang Hao to choose. Lord, since they are proficient in all weapons, they can be equipped with white steel two-handed swords. Dimitka thought for a moment and said, he was familiar with the weapons of the units in the territory. Infantry used green-black iron knight swords, and cavalry were equipped with green, single-edged blades. Only white steel two-handed swords and white steel daggers reached blue quality. But daggers are not suitable for large-scale combat, so Dimitka suggested white steel two-handed swords. Fang Hao nodded. He had also thought of white steel two-handed swords. He just wanted to hear other people's opinions. Now that Dimitka said so, he didn't need to be too conflicted. Okay, then it will be white steel two-handed swords. Fang Hao confirmed the equipment and began crafting armor and white steel two-handed swords to equip the skeleton mantis men. The army was equipped until deep into the night. After all the equipment was distributed, Giant Wall directly led nearly 500,000 troops and rushed to the bloody fortress, guarded by Black Thorn overnight. On the other side, Bloody Mountain Range. Under the unified command of the Rockhead tribe, the Troll Allied army fought all the way to the lair of the Bloodthroat tribe. The Allied army established a camp on the north side of the Bloodthroat tribe to make their final preparations. Logs and stones were used to create simple defenses. The heads of enemies were impaled on wooden poles, filling the surroundings. The trolls set up their tents. Bonfires burned in iron barrels, roasting the remains of creatures. The trolls gathered around the fire, chatting in low voices, while waiting for their food to cook. For trolls, fighting was commonplace, and death was not so terrifying. Only the humans who followed behind the trolls, serving as slaves and spare food, huddled in corners, trembling. Inside a huge tent stitched together from multiple animal hides, the leaders of the troll, Allied army gathered in the tent. After reporting the battle losses of each tribe, they began to discuss the next plan. We will rest for another day tomorrow, and then in the early morning of the day after, we will launch an attack on the Bloodthroat tribe. As long as we capture this city, even if Caius returns, he will not have the strength to turn the tide. Turtse. At the head of the table, Bajart, the leader of the Rockhead tribe, said in a deep voice. What exactly did Caius go to do? He won't suddenly return when we attack, will he? A troll leader said, feeling a little uneasy. Fist of Flesh. Caius, the most powerful hero among the trolls. The reason they dared to attack Bloodthroat this time was because they received news that Caius was not in the tribe. Otherwise, even if the Troll Allied army had more numbers, they would not dare to launch an attack on Bloodthroat. Ha! Don't worry about that, everyone. In the last battle, the Undead posed a great threat to Caius. He took offerings to Mount Chaos. He can't possibly return at this time, and he doesn't even know what's happening here. As long as we proceed according to the plan, he won't be able to do anything when he returns. Bart laughed heartily and then said, Mount Chaos? Caius believes that legend? It's just a means to deceive the tribesmen. The battle with the Undead not only dissatisfied us, but also caused significant dissent within their Bloodthroat tribe. Taking offerings and claiming to have received some omen upon return, it's a common tactic, Bajart sneered. Everyone was familiar with this tactic. Some of the people present had even risen to the position of leader by using this method. Hearing Bajart say this, the others also relaxed. Ha ha ha! Clan Chief Bajart is right. These are just some of Caius's little tricks. But he certainly didn't expect that we would destroy his tribe while he was away. Yes, even if he is powerful, with a few remnants, we are not afraid of him. The group of troll leaders also felt relieved. Bajart laughed loudly again and continued, After capturing Bloodthroat, we will launch an attack on the Undead. Breaking through that fortress, we can also leave this desolate land. Outside are human villages everywhere, and our tribesmen will no longer have to worry about going hungry. Hearing Bajart's words, everyone showed a look of longing. The Bloodthroat tribe blocked the way out, but they had also heard others mention it. As long as they left this mountain range, there were human villages everywhere outside with little combat power. The living environment was also not as harsh as it was here. Speaking of humans, Clan Chief Bajart, the army's food is seriously insufficient. You don't really plan to keep those humans you brought, do you? A Cyclops troll leader suddenly spoke. After this person finished speaking, the other leaders present all looked at Bajart. Bajart naturally understood what he meant and said calmly, They are just some reserve food. Since there is a lack of food, you go and select half of the humans to give everyone a taste of meat. The other half will be food for tomorrow night. Hearing Byjart's words, the Cyclops troll's face instantly lit up with joy. Okay, I'll go pick. The people now. Saying that, he picked up his mace, lifted the tent flap, and walked straight out. In the corner of the camp, there was a tent made of broken sundries and torn animal hides. Rather than a tent, it was more like a warehouse for stacking sundries on the edge of the camp. The small warehouse was now crowded with over 100 humans. The humans wore tattered clothes, were covered in grease and dirt, and had gaunt faces. In the middle of the people, a man was surrounded. His clothing was no different, but his eyes held a different kind of spirit, a spirit that had not yet given up. Are everyone here? Shu Yang asked in a low voice. Lord, everyone is here, one person said, and casually tightened the entrance of the tent again. Shu Yang nodded, pulled out several bundles from the bottom layer of the sundries. As he opened them, he said, These trolls will eat us sooner or later. We will escape tonight. As soon as these words were spoken, the room instantly became noisy. Shu Yang had mentioned escaping to them, but where was it so easy to escape? Once caught, they would probably be dismembered and thrown into a pot to be stewed. Lord, can we escape? Those guys are watching us very closely, a villager said in a low voice. Yes, I have made preparations. We can definitely escape if we go together. Besides, if we stay, they will eat us tomorrow, so we must fight for it no matter what. As Shu Yang spoke, several large bundles were opened, revealing the leather armor and weapons inside, as well as some circular yellow baked biscuits. Looking at the golden baked biscuits, people couldn't help but swallow. At the same time, they were a little surprised. When did Shu Yang prepare so much equipment? One set per person, hurry up and change, and then we'll leave here, Shu Yang urged. After a brief hesitation, the people below all took action. A few people walked out and distributed the leather armor from the bundles one by one. Everyone put them on. After putting on their weapons and armor, they all sat on the ground and began to wait in silence. When the night got deeper, they would escape, escaping from here through the gap that had been left open. Inside the room, it was exceptionally quiet. Only the chirping of insects could be heard from outside. Just at this moment, a low curse suddenly came from outside the room. Damn it, where did these humans run off to? Hearing this sound, the people in the room instantly became nervous. Shh! Shu Yang swallowed and made a shushing gesture. He looked out through the gap in the tent. He saw a strong Cyclops troll outside, searching for something, dragging a bloody iron hook on the ground. Seeing the iron hook, Shu Yang's heart instantly tightened. He recognized this kind of iron hook. The trolls used it specifically to hang food. At this moment, the Cyclops troll's intention was already very clear. He had come to select food, just as Shu Yang's mind was a little chaotic and he hadn't thought of a countermeasure. Clang! Suddenly, there was a crisp sound from behind him. A villager's weapon had hit a stone due to their trembling hands. Shu Yang looked towards the door again, only to see that the Cyclops troll was already looking this way. Ferocious smile appeared on his ugly face. So you were hiding here. Clang! The iron hook scraped against the ground, making a grating noise. Everyone in the room instantly turned pale. Their fully armed appearance had been seen by the troll. He would definitely kill them immediately. From the gap. Shu Yang watched the one-eyed troll approach, little by little, his face also extremely grim. They were supposed to attack Bloodthroat the day after tomorrow. The troll shouldn't be coming for them today. What exactly happened? But now was not the time to think about these things. He drew the iron sword from his waist. He cut an opening under the tent on the other side. He said in a low voice, "You go out first. If he finds us, we'll fight him to the death." As he spoke, he removed the armor he had just put on. Oh. The farmers nodded subconsciously. The farmers' loyalty was not low. Even facing danger, they would still carry out Shu Yang's orders. Hurry and go, Shu Yang urged again. The farmers lay on the ground, crawling out one by one through the opening he had cut. The sound of the iron chain dragging grew closer and closer. The one-eyed troll had already reached the tent and was just about to reach out to pull it open. Shu Yang directly crawled out. Without waiting for the one-eyed troll in front of him to speak, he spoke first. What's wrong? Is there something you need? The single eye on his forehead stared at Shu Yang, and he said in a deep voice, Why are you here? What are you doing here? Even in the eyes of trolls, humans all looked more or less the same, basically identical. But Shu Yang's distinctive black hair and black eyes, he still recognized. In the previous few meetings, Bygart had even allowed Shu Yang to participate and collect some resources for the army. Chief Bygart told me to organize miscellaneous items here. Did he send you to help me? Shu Yang asked with a curious expression, but his body still blocked the entrance to the tent. Where are the others? The one-eyed troll continued to press, his single eye scanning around. What others? Are you looking for someone here? Where are the other humans? Why are there no other people around? The one-eyed troll asked, swallowing. Saliva Beigart still valued Shu Yang quite a bit. The one-eyed troll really couldn't just eat him. He needed to find other humans to serve as his late-night snack. Oh, I arranged for the others to go to the camp over there to help build equipment. Do you need manpower? What kind of work? I'll arrange for people to go over then. Shu Yang casually dusted off his clothes. The one-eyed troll surveyed the quiet surroundings, always feeling that something was not right. He bent down, his huge eyes staring directly at Shu Yang. Then he sniffed his nose and asked curiously, "What's that smell in the tent? Why is it so fragrant? What did you hide?" "No, you must be mistaken." Shu Yang frowned. "Damn crawling insect, you dare to hide food?" The troll roared, slapping Shu Yang's body 2 meters away. Then he directly pulled open the tent and crawled inside. Shu Yang stumbled to his feet, clutching his left arm, his face pale. With that one slap just now, his arm was throbbing with pain. It was possible his bone was injured. Damn it! Why was he so unlucky? It was a perfectly good plan. Then this thing suddenly showed up, but he had no way out. Seeing the troll crawl into the tent, he gritted his teeth and endured the pain. He quickly followed and crawled in. The tent was empty. Shu Yang glanced sideways at the spot where the tent had been cut open. In the moonlight, he could vaguely see the figures hiding. "This is a warehouse for miscellaneous items. Where would there be anything to eat?" Shu Yang said in a low voice. Even though he had been hit, he didn't dare to scold the other party. Even though he often followed behind Beigart, it didn't mean his status was higher than a troll's. "That's not right. I clearly smelled it." The one-eyed troll, like a hound searching for evidence, kept sniffing the surrounding air. One-eyed trolls were a branch among the trolls. Their lack of vertical vision made their eyesight poor and their perception reduced. But the troll in front of him seemed to have an exceptionally good nose, constantly complaining about smelling food. This could be the smell of roasted flatbread. The one-eyed troll kept sniffing, his gaze falling on the hole that had been cut open on one side. "Heh heh heh! So it's here. Let me see what you crawling insects are up to." The one-eyed troll laughed, bent down, and stuck his head out through the torn opening. As soon as his head poked out, he saw a human standing on the stacked wooden frames to the side. Holding a large stone in his arms, he leaped down and smashed it towards the troll's head. "You dare!" Thump! With a dull thud, the stone smashed directly onto the troll's head. The stone shattered. The single eye rolled back, and he was instantly knocked unconscious. "He's unconscious, my lord. Let's hurry and leave," a farmer said. Shu Yang, holding his injured arm, also walked out and shook his head. "Trolls recover very quickly. It would be terrible if he woke up as soon as we ran out. We must kill him." A fierce look appeared in Shu Yang's eyes. "Kill? Kill the troll? Quick, bring that iron hook and chain, tie him up, and stuff the iron ball from the warehouse into his mouth so he can't shout," Shu Yang quickly ordered. Everyone moved quickly, tying up the unconscious one-eyed troll and sealing his mouth. Shu Yang took a deep breath and stabbed his sword into the troll's neck. The pain instantly brought the unconscious, one-eyed troll back to consciousness. His eye was filled with terror and rage, and he began to struggle violently. The immense strength instantly sent several farmers who were holding him down flying, but with his whole body bound, he couldn't make any sound. Shu Yang immediately stepped forward, stabbed again, and called out, "Quick, let's kill him together, and then we'll leave here." Puff, puff, puff. The people swarmed forward, directly stabbing the troll in front of them into a beehive. The troll was dead. The night was already deep. Shu Yang lit a knoll candle, wrapping cloth around the middle part. After doing everything, he waved his hand. "Go. Let's leave here." Leading the group, they bypassed several drowsy sentries. They crawled out through a hole in the ground that had been prepared long ago and disappeared into the night. Late at night. Whoosh! The miscellaneous item warehouse in the camp instantly caught fire. Since the warehouse itself was stacked with many flammable items, by the time the trolls discovered it, the fire had already spread. It also ignited the adjacent warehouses and tents. The fire engulfed the entire camp. The trolls shouted loudly, moving items while trying to put out the fire. Beigart looked at the location of the fire and then at the chaotic camp. His face was also extremely grim. "Did you see those humans helping to fight the fire?" Beigart stopped a troll and asked coldly. "Didn't see them. They were probably burned to death inside," the troll replied. "All right, go fight the fire then." "Okay, chief." As soon as the troll left, several other troll leaders also quickly walked over from their respective positions. "Chief Beigart, do you suspect those human crawling insects did it?" a leader asked coldly. "It seems these humans escaped." Beigart had already concluded that the humans did it, or rather, Shu Yang did it. Those timid farmers wouldn't dare to burn the warehouse even while escaping. "Damn it! I'll go catch them and kill them all," a troll said angrily. Bygert grabbed the troll who was about to leave. He shook his head and said, "We'll settle the score with them after this is over. Go wake everyone up. Be careful of the enemy, seeing the firelight and raiding the camp. Also, inform everyone that we will attack the Bloodthroat tribe at dawn." "Attack at dawn? Everyone hasn't rested well," someone said. Bygert looked at the big fire in the camp. "After the big fire, there will be losses in food and supplies. We can't rest for another day. Tell everyone to rest well after we take down the Bloodthroat tribe." The troll army, while not completely chaotic, also lacked the order of a human army. The storage of supplies was as messy as their camp. It would have been fine if nothing happened. With this big fire, most of the supplies were burned. If they rested for another day, the army would all go hungry. Hearing Bygert's words, amidst the other leaders also understood. They nodded. "Okay, we'll attack the city tomorrow morning." "Okay, go." Everyone dispersed, relaying the message to their respective clansmen. Bygert looked at the big fire with a solemn expression, feeling somewhat annoyed. If only he had known, he would have killed these humans directly. The next day, early morning. After eating breakfast, Fang Hao directly took Anjia and Dimitarga and rode the bone dragon to Bloodfang Fortress. From high in the air they could see the skeleton army waiting below the fortress, and the busy orcs, the bone dragon, landed in front of the fortress. He Jing and a group of skeleton heroes quickly walked over, personally welcoming them. "My lord," He Jing and the others saluted. Fang Hao and the two others leaped off the bone dragon. "Okay, have the items the army needs to carry been tallied?" Yesterday, Heijian and Chongshi had already arrived at the fortress. They tallied the number of troops and the items and tools needed for this expedition. Fang Hao arrived the next day to produce the tallied equipment. "My lord, it has been tallied." Heijing handed over a piece of parchment. It listed the names and quantities of the equipment. It recorded the arrows and various tools needed this time. Among them, the largest quantity was arrows. A total of 5 million were needed, and this was already with the arrows the fortress itself had stored. Besides arrows, there were also handcarts, iron axes, spare ropes, and so on. A total of over 20 items. Fang Hao didn't waste words and went to an open space. He opened the Lord's book and began producing. Amidst large areas of light, various equipment was produced. No wonder they say war is about money. If it weren't for the rich mineral resources of the Coldwind mountain range, even with his 100-fold increase, he wouldn't be able to support the consumption of the undead army. After the required tools were produced, Heijing continued to arrange for people to organize the tools. They were all sorted and loaded onto handcarts. The skeletons began packing up the arrows and tools, while Fang Hao and the others went directly to the commander's mansion. Everyone sat down, and Fang Hao continued, "Heijing, you know the Bloodfang mountain range best. You will command this operation. Heijian, Jubi, and Chongshi, you three will serve as generals. Heijing might not be the strongest, but he was the one who knew this place best. Although Jubi retained most of his memories, he did not possess command expertise. Therefore, after much thought, Fang Hao decided it was best to leave this task to Heijing. Yes, my lord." All four stood up, nodded, and accepted the order. The four were all skeleton heroes, and their loyalty was 100%. They would carry out Fang Hao's orders unconditionally, and there was no need to worry about their loyalty decreasing. "Okay, this operation is..." Fang Hao was about to continue speaking. Urgent footsteps sounded outside the door. A slightly plump, pink pigman wearing brown leather armor, along with several jackalmen, strode in. Fang Hao recognized them at a glance as Patty, the pigman chief, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. After taking the stamina potion, Patty's physical fitness had also improved. Not only had she reached the 3rd tier, but her appearance had also undergone some changes. Her skin was still pinkish, but her appearance had begun to show signs of transforming towards human form. Fang Hao saw Patty, and Patty also saw Fang Hao at the same time. She immediately stepped forward quickly to salute. "Lord, Miss Anjia, sirs." Patty was always quite thoughtful and greeted everyone. "Okay, Patty, what's the urgent matter?" Fang Hao asked directly. Patty immediately said, "My lord, the scouts who were sent out have returned." She then looked at the jackalman behind her. "Tell the sirs the information. Don't miss any details." A jackalman stepped forward. "Sirs, this morning we discovered a group of troll forces began attacking the Bloodthroat tribe. Their numbers are large, and they have prepared siege equipment like trebuchets and siege ladders. Bloodthroat is currently holding their ground, and their counterattack equipment is a type of ballista-like device that can penetrate several enemies with each attack. Oh, and neither side was seen with flying units or cavalry." The jackalman finished speaking in one breath, then let out a heavy sigh. Fang Hao's impression of a jackalman was not good, but he couldn't deny they possessed good scouting and tracking abilities. After listening to the jackalman's report, Fang Hao's brows instantly furrowed. Didn't they say the Troll Coalition army would attack Bloodthroat tomorrow? Why did they attack today? It seemed something unexpected had happened. Fang Hao didn't ask Xu Yang. After all, the situation on his side might not be as accurate as what the scouts observed. Their early start to the war was also a good thing. The sooner both sides consumed their forces, the sooner his own troops could set out. Can you estimate the numbers on both sides? Fang Hao continued to ask. The Jackalman looked troubled, hesitating for a moment. My lord, we didn't dare to get too close. A rough estimate is that the attacking side has at least 200,000 to 300,000 people, while Bloodthroat only has a few tens of thousands. All right, you did well. After the battle ends, Commander He Jing will reward you, Fang Hao said, looking at the few of them. Hearing Fang Hao's promise, the expressions of the few instantly showed joy. Thank you, my lord. Thank you, my lord. Okay, you can go rest first. Patty, stay here and we'll continue discussing the strategy, Fang Hao continued. Yes, my lord. The few scouts withdrew, while Patty carefully sat down to the side. Patty had signed a slave contract with Fang Hao and could be trusted. Next, the few of them reviewed the battle plan again against the map. He Jing and the others went out, again to organize the troops, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I await your triumphant return, Fang Hao said softly. He Jing and the others saluted again, and with a wave of his hand he said, Depart. The undead army passed through Bloodfang Fortress, and directly entered the mountain range. The line stretched as far as the eye could see. The 3 million strong undead army marched grandly through the fortress, advancing towards the depths of the bloody mountain range. Fang Hao stood on the city wall, watching the army depart. This attack on the trolls was assigned to 4 skeleton heroes, Blackthorn, Black Sword, Giant Wall, and Heavy Arrow. The defense of the fortress was entrusted to Patty and 700,000 undead soldiers. Fang Hao and Patty had a slave contract. She could be trusted. Moreover, there was only one road extending from the fortress into the Bloody Mountain. Range. This meant that if the trolls wanted to attack the fortress, they would encounter Blackthorn's 3 million strong army. The possibility of bypassing the army and directly attacking the fortress was very small, perhaps even impossible, but out of caution, nearly 700,000 undead soldiers were still left with Patty, just in case of an unexpected event. Patty, I'm leaving this place to you. This is a sound transmission conch. Report to me immediately if there's any danger. Fang Hao took out the sound transmission conch and handed it to Patty. Patty received it with both hands and guaranteed, Don't worry, my lord, I will definitely complete this mission. This should be the first time Patty had commanded such a large army on her own. Her chubby face became even pinker, and her expression was excited. Fang Hao smiled slightly. You don't need to be too nervous. The chance of trolls bypassing is very small. Even if some come over, they will only be scattered stragglers. Just be careful with the defense, and there won't be any problems. Okay, my lord. Patty nodded seriously. Fang Hao looked down at the city again. The long, slender line of undead had not yet finished leaving. He then took Anjia and Dimiteja and returned to the territory on the Bone Dragon. Returning to the territory, the sky had already darkened. After dinner, Fang Hao lay in the hot spring, his head resting on Year's round and smooth thigh. While eating the fruit Year fed him, he watched everyone chatting and rambling in the regional channel. Even in this world, everyone lived very hard lives, but gathering together always relieved a lot of pressure and lightened the atmosphere. These past few days, people in the channel had started buying terracotta tiles, and everyone also knew that terracotta tiles were materials needed to upgrade the Lord's Mansion from level 7 to level 8. Only a few people could upgrade their Lord's Mansion to level 7, but most people still planned to stock up in advance to prepare for their future upgrades. Fang Hao was a little surprised by the upgrade speed of the first person who started buying terracotta tiles. He himself had only upgraded to level 8 a few days ago, and the other party's speed seemed not far behind his own. He immediately checked his stock of terracotta tiles, which was 3,200. Now, this was already enough for him to upgrade to level 9. Damn it! Zhu Zhishang, that guy is too greedy. 1. Terracotta tile for a piece of equipment or a rare material. Isn't he treating us like idiots? Sigh. Don't mention it. He's the only one in the channel with the kiln blueprint, so he's bound to sell them for a higher price. But he can't sell them like this, I asked. The number of terracotta tiles needed to go from 7 to 8 is 1,200. 1,200 pieces of equipment? Who can afford that? In the channel, everyone was discussing the matter of terracotta tiles. Although Fang Hao joined later, he quickly understood what was happening. Zhu Zhishang was the lord who had previously wanted to exchange one piece of equipment for one terracotta tile. After being refused by Fang Hao, he started selling terracotta tiles in the channel, and the price hadn't changed at all. Anyway, so far, no one else in the channel was selling terracotta tiles. Terracotta tiles were made from fired clay, and a large quantity was required. Exchanging one for a piece of equipment completely angered the public in the channel, but there wasn't a good solution. Soon, Qiu Zhishang also saw the discussion in the channel and spoke up. Everyone is smart. There's no need to beat around the bush. If you had the terracotta building blueprint in your hands, you wouldn't be much better than me. As I said before, the price is set. Instead of complaining here, you might as well go and get some materials and equipment to exchange for terracotta tiles. As soon as these words came out, the channel instantly went silent as if the connection had been cut. Getting special blueprints and becoming rich overnight was not uncommon in this world. Even though people thought Qiu Zhishang was greedy, if someone else got this unique blueprint, who could guarantee that they wouldn't be the second Qiu Zhishang or even greedier? However, the current atmosphere in the channel was still normal. Fang Hao's reasonably priced goods helped most people overcome difficulties. The channel had even promoted the slogan of mutual help. After a brief pause, someone came out to refute. Someone will get the blueprint soon, then let's see how you sell them. Exactly. This blueprint isn't the only copy. It's just a matter of time before others get it. That's right, others don't have it, but Boss Fang Hao definitely has this. Blueprint. Let's buy from Boss Fang Hao. Qiu Zhishang smiled slightly. I thought you were going to say something else. Is that it? To be honest with you, Fang Hao talked to me about the price a few days ago. He's probably accumulating equipment right now. After saying that, he even sent a screenshot of his chat with Fang Hao into the regional channel to prove the accuracy of his words. However, the part he screenshotted didn't include the beginning or the end, only the middle part where Fang Hao asked about the price and thought the price was a bit expensive. See? Your boss Fang Hao will also buy from me. He's just accumulating equipment. Now, whoever has a higher level has the advantage. Don't you want to work hard and become a regional boss too? Qiu Zhishang sent another message. Seeing the screenshot, the channel became chaotic again. The number of people who had been denouncing him together instantly decreased significantly. Even Fang Hao had to buy terracotta tiles from Qiu Zhishang, but Fang Hao could afford that equipment, while they couldn't. Once the price was established and the market defaulted to one terracotta tile equaling one piece of equipment, then most of their territories would simply be unable to upgrade from level 7 to level 8. Instantly, everyone felt a sense of powerless despair. Looking at the chat in the channel, Fang Hao's brows furrowed deeply. While he didn't agree with Qiu Zhishang's method of exchange that would drain the other party, he also didn't want to interfere in this matter. He originally thought that if the price was so expensive, people just wouldn't buy them. But he didn't expect Qiu Zhishang to selectively screenshot their chat records, cutting off the beginning and end, coupled with his nonsense. It made it seem like he was also willing to buy terracotta tiles from him. This would mislead others. With such a high price for terracotta tiles, Fang Hao was indirectly an accomplice. The image he had built up all this time was ruined by this. Qiu Zhishang Fang Hao thought for a moment and directly put 500 terracotta tiles up for sale in the channel. The price was 50 pieces for one rare material, and he said, "I will not buy terracotta tiles from others. The terracotta kiln in my territory is already producing terracotta tiles, and 500 pieces will be sold every 5 days. However, the efficiency can't keep up. Those who are not in a hurry to upgrade can wait a bit longer. The quantity will increase later, and the price will also decrease." The material for terracotta tiles was clay. It wasn't worth anything. The main cost was time. Moreover, Fang Hao also needed to consider the materials required for upgrading the subordinate territories, so he couldn't sell large quantities to the outside. But he could also take advantage of the current scarcity of terracotta tiles to exchange for some rare materials. Seeing the information and words Fang Hao posted, the channel instantly boiled over again. Holy crap! Boss Fang Hao is awesome! This is my last message for today. Boss is amazing. Qiu Zhishang, you unscrupulous merchant, even if the price is the same, I'll buy from Boss Fang Hao. Boss is amazing. Messages rolled by, filled with words like amazing and mighty. Qiu Zhishang stared blankly at the screen-filling messages, his face instantly turning pale. This was clearly his business. Why did it end up benefiting Fang Hao for free? Fang Hao's price was also very high. Clay wasn't worth anything. But with his arrogant remarks just now, Fang Hao's price seemed very acceptable. This way, it was likely that no one would be willing to buy his terracotta tiles in the future, so all the terracotta tiles he had accumulated would be stuck with him. Fang Hao, you motherfucker! You won't have a good end! Qiu Zhishang slammed the pottery cup in his hand heavily onto the ground and cursed loudly. Seeing that the matter was resolved, Fang Hao also felt relieved. Although he wasn't afraid of the other people in the channel, he didn't want to be used and have his reputation ruined. The region was fixed, and as the territories expanded, they would eventually meet each other. In this world, these people were all fellow countrymen, and he didn't want to appear before others in the image of a bad person. Splash! Fang Hao sat up from the pool, bringing up a wave of water. "Master, are you going to rest?" Yair picked up a towel and gently helped him dry the water droplets on his body. Let's upgrade the Lord's mansion first. Oh, right, call Angie out too. We'll sleep after the upgrade is finished. Fang Hao waited for Yair to dry him. He wrapped a towel around his waist and walked directly out of the Lord's mansion. Standing in front of the Lord's mansion, he checked the requirements for upgrading to level 9. Level 9 Lord's stone building, hardwood, 10,500, stone brick 16,000, iron 1,100, metal parts 900, terracotta tile 1,800. At this time, Yair also came, out, pulling Anja. Inside the Lord's stone building, there was no one left. Fang Hao directly confirmed the upgrade. Light instantly enveloped the Lord's mansion. The footprint of the Lord's stone building expanded again, and the outline of a tower appeared on the right side within the light. The upgrade lasted for half an hour. The light dissipated and the upgrade was completed. This time, the area of the Lord's mansion expanded again, and a hexagonal tower appeared. On the right side, symmetrical with the left side, level 9 Lord's stone building, owner Fang Hao. Abilities, production and gathering. Pull is 4%, unit movement, poems is 4.5%, all attributes. Pull is 5%, existing buildings. Level 8, underground mausoleum. Level 8, stable. Note, core building of the territory. Materials required for upgrade. Hardwood 25,000, stone brick 16,000, fine stone brick 5,500, marble floor 800, iron 2,100, cast iron block 800, metal parts 900, terracotta tile 3,000. Upgrading to level 10, in addition to increased materials, several new materials appeared. It seemed that upgrading to level 10 would be another bottleneck. All right, Yair, Anja, you two go back and rest, Fang Hao said to the two of them. At this moment, the sleepiness in Anjia's eyes was gone. Looking at the expanded Lord's mansion, her face was full of excitement. Yair, hurry! There are so many rooms on the second floor. I'll help you move to the second floor. Anja pulled Yair and rushed directly into the Lord's mansion. Night. Bloody mountains. Bloodthroat tribe. At this moment, the Troll Coalition had already broken through the sturdy city walls, chasing and killing the remaining enemies within the city. Baijiate sat on the throne in the clan hall, a joyous expression on his face as he felt the chair beneath him. At this moment, a female troll with a height of 2.5 meters and a burly figure was brought up. She knelt silently on the ground. Baijiate looked at the woman before him, intrigued. He stood up, walked down the throne, came to the female troll, tore off all the clothes on her body, and completely exposed her body to the air. Baijiate looked at the troll beauty with her muscular body and thick black hair on her chest. In his eyes, besides desire, there was also endless pleasure. Overthrowing the Bloodthroat tribe, everything that Kai Wusi possessed would become his property, including the woman in front of him, Kai Wusi's favorite woman. Baijiate looked at the huge weight on the woman's chest, and his breathing became heavier. He pushed the troll woman to the ground and began to act. Inside the hall, several troll guards witnessed this scene. They also silently retreated from the hall. After a while, a troll leader walked into the hall, looking at the two people on the ground, busy with their activities. His steps also paused slightly, but he still said with a calm expression, Chieftain Baijiate, those Bloodthroat guys have set up a defense in the northwest corner and are putting up a last resistance. How many people? Baijiate asked, turning his head. Maybe more than 1,000. Organize the manpower to attack directly, kill all the men and leave the women behind, Baijiate said without hesitation. Not a single Bloodthroat man could be left behind, and they dared not leave them behind. Once Kai Wusi returned, these people would see hope and launch a frantic counterattack. Kai Wusi was difficult enough to deal with. They dared not take the risk. Okay, I understand. The leader nodded in agreement and walked out again. After the leader left, Baijiate pulled out the troll woman hiding behind the throne again and continued the unfinished exercise. Inside the Bloodthroat city, it was a mess. Blood gathered into red streams flowing down the streets. The ground was full of broken limbs, and the sound of killing was everywhere. The Troll Coalition forces trampled on the blood, searching for the hidden enemies. The men were all killed, and the women were divided among the crowd to relax. Until late at night, the sound of killing gradually stopped, and the city fell silent again. After clearing the enemies in the city, several troll leaders also strode into the hall. At this time, Baijiate was already sitting on the throne with a flushed face. He asked, Has everything been resolved? Resolved, all the men were killed, and the women were directly distributed equally to several tribes, so that everyone could relax, the leader said. Baijiate nodded and didn't say much. The trolls' habits are more barbaric than the orcs. Not to mention the women of Bloodthroat. Even within the tribe, the matter of snatching women is very common. Have the casualties been counted? Baijate continued to ask. My clansmen? There are still more than 80,000 people left. My clansmen suffered more losses, and the number of people left is about half, around 50,000. You still suffered a lot of losses. Only a few thousand of my people are left. So everyone spoke one after another, stating their numbers. Baijate listened and had a number in his heart. The siege of the city caused them heavy losses. Now the number of coalition forces is still around 400,000, but many are injured. Even though the troll's body is strong, it still takes a certain amount of time to recover. Well, let the army light a fire and cook and have a good night's rest. I have already arranged for people to search for the wealth of Bloodthroat. Tomorrow the spoils will be divided according to the tribe's contribution. I, Baijate, am not Kai Wusi. Everyone who contributed will get a share, Baijate continued to say. Hearing Baijate's words, smiles instantly appeared on everyone's faces. Baijate naturally takes the lion's share of the spoils, but they don't want to contribute for nothing. Now that they have the other party's promise, they are naturally very happy. We naturally believe in Chieftain Baijate. That's right, overthrowing Bloodthroat is just the first step. We still have to break through the Undead fortress and get out of this barren mountain range. Baijate nodded. Well, after solving the trouble of Kai Wusi, we will attack the Undead fortress and get out of here. Yes, Chieftain Baijate is right. After several leaders discussed the subsequent plan, they walked out of the clan hall. They returned to their respective tribes' garrisons and began to light fires and cook. After taking Bloodthroat, they had enough food to fill the army's stomachs. Chieftain, I left 2 women for you in the house. Their breasts are so big, bigger than this spoon. A troll cook stirred the iron pot, set up on the bonfire with a huge wooden spoon in his hand. The iron pot was bubbling with hot bubbles, and broken bones and pieces of meat could be seen in the sticky liquid. Well, call me when it's time to eat, the troll leader nodded. Plop! Just as the leader was about to enter the house for a quickie, suddenly something fell into the iron pot. The troll cook glanced at the cloudy sky. He used the wooden spoon and his hand to scoop out the thing that fell into the pot. In the large wooden spoon was a cylindrical object, which was scooped out of the pot, and the tail was still emitting grayish-white smoke. What is this? The leader and several trolls beside him also poked their heads over to look, just as a few people were about to curse who was throwing things around. The white smoke extinguished. Boom! A sudden explosion, instantly killing the surrounding people. At the same time, cylindrical bombs were falling all over the sky like raindrops. Boom! 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 Explosions filled every corner of the city, ravaging the already broken houses and streets. Enemies in the sky, enemies in the sky. A troll clearly saw the sky. It wasn't dark clouds, but flying creatures. It was these flying creatures that dropped the bombs. The trolls began to flee in all directions, duck in to avoid the bombs, using Google Translate, into the rooms to avoid the dropped bombs. At the same time, they picked up scattered stones and began to hurl them into the sky. Puff, puff, puff! They actually managed to knock down enemies from the sky. Looking at the white bone corpses on the ground, the trolls also knew who their enemies were. It's the undead. It's undead bats. The dense bombing made the entire city shake. Houses became ruins, and the place where the trolls gathered for meals became a living hell. Limbs and minced meat filled the sky, and trolls fleeing everywhere, looking for a place to hide, let out. Painful wails. Baijate stood in the hall, looking at the city outside that was constantly exploding, his face even more gloomy. What on earth happened? Could it be that Kai Wusi is back and has begun to fight back? Impossible. Kai Wusi cannot be back now. And this kind of attack is more like the bombs developed by the dwarf race. But why did they appear here, and in such large numbers? Enough to flatten a mountain. Don't run around. Hide in the buildings. Don't run around. Baijate shouted loudly. But in the explosions and the wails of his clansmen, his voice couldn't be heard at all. It was all in vain. The carpet bombing lasted for half an hour. The entire city was completely turned into ruins, with wreckage everywhere. After the explosion, there was a brief silence, and everyone's ears were filled with buzzing. After a while, the wails of the survivors came. Quick, treat the wounded. Prepare for battle. Baijate began to shout loudly, giving orders. The other leaders also quickly walked over. Each of them was injured, and 2 leaders were missing. It's the undead. The ones dropping the explosives from the sky are skeleton bats, one leader said. Before the others could answer, a troll staggered over. He said anxiously, It's bad. A large number of undead armies are approaching outside the South City. At this moment, everyone's hearts were raised. Why are the undead attacking now? Why is it such a coincidence? The few people didn't speak. They silently walked towards the South City wall, climbing the city wall. One could clearly feel the ground trembling up and down. Looking down, under the hazy moonlight, one could see the endless undead army. Damn it, it's the undead from the north. Quick, gather everyone and prepare for battle. Bring all the equipment over. Baijate roared loudly, his face full of solemnity. The remaining trolls were gathered together. The number of people who could pick up weapons was less than 100,000. The rest had died in the bombing just now. The trolls collected everything they could move and transported it to the city wall, looking at the endless undead army below. Even the trolls, who were naturally bloodthirsty and brutal, began to tremble and swallow. If they had known that the undead would attack the Bloodthroat tribe, they should have postponed the attack by 2 days. Now that they have lost most of their forces, how can they be a match for those undead? The few remaining dragon-locking ballista beds were carried over. Nearly 3 meters long crossbow bolts equipped with hooks were loaded into the launch slot, cautiously watching the sky. The undead have bone dragon units, and they were afraid that the bone dragons would launch the attack first. All the trolls entered a state of battle readiness. However, the undead stopped 1,000 meters away from the city wall. Dang, dang, dang! Skeleton trolls held huge black shields diagonally above their heads, forming a metal shield wall to defend against attacks from above. Nearly 300,000 metal iron walls were comparable to a black barrier. Under the shields were skeleton warriors, holding siege ladders. On the city wall, looking at the formation below, all the trolls' faces were extremely ugly. Clan Chief Bai Jate, isn't this your rockhead heavy shield? Why is it in their hands? One clan chief asked seriously. Bai Jate's face was equally ugly, and he also recognized the appearance of the shield. But how did he know how the other party was equipped? There were not many of these heavy shields in the tribe, and they were all left by the older generation. Don't talk about this. Prepare to fight first, Bai Jate said. Dong, dong, dong! Suddenly, from the undead army under the city, a series of drum sounds rang out. As the drum sounds rang out, a faint energy enveloped all the undead soldiers. Outside the city, the White Bone Army. The undead army had already advanced to a distance of 1,000 meters from the city. Lord, the archers are ready. The shield soldiers are ready. Lord Blackthorn, the troll heavy shields are also ready. Pieces of information were quickly sent to Blackthorn. Blackthorn nodded and said, Beat the drums, attack? Yes. Several orc messengers instantly dispersed and ran in different directions, shouting loudly, Beat the drums, attack! Dong, 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 dong. Drummers scattered throughout the undead camp beat the giant skin drums in front of them. A series of muffled drum sounds rang out in the undead camp. The gray-white light spread out with the sound of the drums, enveloping all the undead units. Undead war drum. Category, war drum. Ability, all attributes. Plus or minus %, limb reorganization. Limb reorganization. Under the aura, if the bones of the undead units are damaged, they will actively search for the body parts of fallen comrades to replace them. Description, the sound of the war drum will resound throughout the battlefield, and the immortal warriors will break free from the shackles of their bodies and freely replace the missing parts of their bodies. After the war drums, the infantry began to charge. Woo! Like a hurricane howling. The rain of arrows passed over the heads of the army, covering the sky above the city like a net of iron. Dense arrows, like a giant black net. With a piercing whistle, they covered the sky above the trolls. The trolls looked up at the sky, an uncontrollable fear appearing in their eyes. The trolls, who had just gathered, began to fall into chaos again, scattering in all directions to find cover, those who couldn't. Dodge and Time immediately lay down on the ground, covering themselves with the corpses of their companions. Crackling! In the blink of an eye, the arrows fell, hitting the ground, walls, and the bodies of the trolls who couldn't dodge. Thump! Thump, thump, thump. Below the city wall, the beat of the undead war drums grew more urgent. The army of skeletons began their attack. Beneath the tortoise-shell formation of the troll shields, figures of skeleton warriors weaved through. Siege ladders were propped against the city wall, and skeleton warriors began to climb the ladders. More undead, like stacking human pyramids, attempted to climb the city wall by stepping on the bodies of their companions. More and more undead joined in. Like expanding mud, they rapidly spread upwards along the city wall, on the city wall. The trolls looked at everything before them, fear and powerlessness filling their hearts. Could they defend against so many undead? Even if they stood there and let them kill, they would probably die of exhaustion first. Quick, fire the dragon lock ballistae downwards. Shoot at the places with the most people. The stunned trolls instantly woke up. Holding their shields and door panels, they blocked the constantly falling rain of arrows. Operating the dragonlock ballistae, they began to adjust their aim. Click, click, click! The dragonlock ballistae emitted the sound of turning gears. They aimed at the rapidly spreading piles of undead below. Bang! A 3-meter-long, arm-thick dragonlock arrow was fired. Boom! With a roar, the arrow struck the center of the undead crowd. Earth and rocks exploded, and large numbers of undead were instantly killed. bones scattering everywhere. The piles of bones that had been built up also instantly collapsed, scattering. Along the city wall, a skeleton warrior who hadn't died lifted its head. Its legs were both gone. It moved quickly using its 2 arms, found 2 random legs and attached them to its body, and continued the attack. Rattle! More and more undead stood up, haphazardly reassembling their bodies. They could even replace their heads and continue fighting. Boom, boom, boom! On the city wall, one dragon lock arrow after another was fired, attempting to stop the undead's advance. The undead army was too numerous. Even though the dragonlock arrows were powerful, their limited number meant the blocking effect was very limited. Soon, the first skeleton warrior climbed onto the city wall. Turning its head, it charged towards a troll. Bang! The troll swung the battle axe in its hand, and with one swing, it sent the skeleton that had just climbed up back down the city wall. However, one skeleton after another continuously surged towards the city wall, pouncing on the trolls on the city wall. Damn it! How can there be so many undead? Bajie cursed loudly as he smashed the skeleton in front of him. When the trolls attacked the undead fortress last time, he heard from those who returned that the number of undead was huge, but he didn't pay too much attention. He had seen undead before. They were often encountered in caves filled with dark energy, but they were always low-level, fragile skeleton frames that would shatter with a touch. How many could there possibly be? 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 should be enough, right? In his heart, the failure of the previous battle was due to Caius's incompetence. But the scene before him stirred a feeling in his heart. Could it be that the area outside the bloody mountain range had already been ruled by the undead? And all living beings were killed and transformed into skeletal undead? Otherwise, how could there be so many undead soldiers? How many people would have to be killed to have this many? The more he thought about it, the more this seemed to be the case. It turned out there were no human villages outside, no living beings. Everywhere. They were all killed and turned into undead. And now, the undead were starting to attack the bloody mountain range again. At this moment, looking down at the city wall again, the east, west, and south city walls were already covered with skeletal soldiers, like dense insects constantly climbing upwards. More and more undead were fighting with the trolls. If they delayed any longer, and the city walls on both sides were also captured, they would only be trapped and die inside the city. Baijia's eyes were bloodshot and his face was twisted. The city he had just captured, the position of chief he had just taken, was he going to give it up now? He was unwilling in his heart. Chief Baigie, what are you waiting for? Let's retreat, otherwise everyone will die here. Baigie glanced at the trolls who were constantly being surrounded and killed, then looked unwillingly at the chief's hall. Finally, he gritted his teeth and ordered, "Take your people, let's retreat. Go out through the north gate, leave this place to them." Hearing Baigie's command, all the trolls began to retreat, no longer entangled with the undead. Without the trolls' resistance, in an instant, the skeletal army surged into the city wall like a rolling tide. Seeing such a scene, the retreating trolls' eyes became even more desperate. Turning around, they fled towards the north city without hesitation. Creak! The city wall was breached, and the heavy city gate was opened. More undead poured into the city. Behind the undead, Blackthorn strode into the city. "My lord, there are still some trolls fleeing towards the north city gate. It looks like they plan to abandon the city and escape." "How many people are left?" "Not many, about tens of thousands." Blackthorn glanced towards the north and said coldly, "Let the skeletal giant bats chase them and kill them for me." As soon as Blackthorn finished speaking, rattle! Dense skeletal giant bats soared into the sky, chasing towards the north. The trolls, like deserters, threw away their armor and weapons and fled towards the north city gate. During the day, they had been desperate to rush into this city, and at this moment, they wished they had wings to fly out immediately, to leave this living hell. While running, a troll glanced at a building they passed. He shouted, "Chief, our injured tribesmen are still left over there." More trolls were severely injured by the carpet bombing. They were all left in one building. Now that they were fleeing, wouldn't these people be left behind to die? Hearing this, Baigie's eyes instantly turned red, and his expression was full of distortion. He looked back at the endless stream of skeletal troops pouring into the city. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Go, there's no other way. We have to survive. And bring the news back to the tribe. We can't take them with us. Keep your lives to avenge them." The undead had too many troops. Coupled with the continuous attrition, with their limited numbers, they had no ability to resist the undead at all. It was even more impossible to take away those injured. What they could do was escape, and then bring back the news of the undead attacking the bloody mountain range, organize more people, and drive these undead out of the bloody mountain range. The others didn't say much either. They also knew that it was impossible to take the injured with them. Their feet did not stop, and they had already reached the city gate. just as a few people were opening the city gate. Whoosh! Behind them came the sound of flapping wings, followed by the wailing of trolls. Ah, help! Everyone looked back. They saw the few trolls behind. Them were completely covered by countless skeleton bats. When they dispersed again, they had already turned into skeletons. Defend, cover the opening of the city gate. The skeletal trolls constantly swung the weapons in their hands, driving away the attacking bats. After another group of people died, the city gate finally opened and everyone rushed out of the city gate. But the skeleton bats were still in hot pursuit, with no intention of letting them leave. Go to the stone forest to the north, Begier ordered, intending to use the terrain to shake off these bats after capturing the city. The undead army began cleanup work in the city. They finished off the injured and wailing trolls along the way. Soon, they found the injured troll. Casualties in several buildings. Blackthorn showed no mercy, and the army poured into the rooms. Then they carried out the bodies and piled them up at a designated location. The entire city was cleaned up. The army began to clear the battlefield, collecting the scattered arrows, weapons, and equipment everywhere. And they began to set up defenses for the city. Blackthorn led his men into the chief's hall, leaving bloody footprints on the ground. The entire city was like it had rained blood, with red streams and puddles everywhere. Inside the hall, Blackthorn saw the sand table of the Bloody Mountain Range. The sand table recorded the paths within the mountain range and the locations of every troll tribe. It was clearer and more detailed than the map Fang Hao had given them. Blackthorn opened the map Fang Hao had given him and began to compare them one by one. Commander Blackthorn, we found a dungeon where a group of female trolls are imprisoned. One of the trolls said she could trade a secret for their lives. Blackthorn's order was to kill all the trolls in the city. All the undead followed this order, cleaning the entire city. Only one dungeon was left out. When Blacksword was inspecting, he discovered the women imprisoned in the dungeon. The other party then attempted to make a deal, but whether or not to spare these trolls depended on what Blackthorn said. Blackthorn didn't hesitate and said directly, "Then bring that person in, and listen to the secret in her mouth. Is it enough to buy their lives?" "All right." Blacksword went out again. About 10 minutes later, a ragged female troll walked in, looking at the skeleton sitting at the top. She knelt on one knee and performed a troll's lee. Speak. Let me see if your secret is enough to offset your lives." Blackthorn spoke directly, without any unnecessary words. The heroes created by the undying Lich, those extra emotions were just useless burdens. Therefore, they would not show any sympathy for your tragic fate. It depended on whether it was beneficial to the war situation. "This undead lord, I know where Caius went and the location of the treasury here. I hope you can spare us. We are no threat to you at all." The woman remained kneeling on the ground, her face serious. The next morning, Fang Hao woke up from his dream and received the information from Blackthorn. Last night, they had already captured the city of the Bloodthroat tribe. This made Fang Hao happy. The actions of Blackthorn and the others were faster than he had calculated. After breakfast, Fang Hao took Dimitar and Anja and rode the Bone Dragon directly to the Bloodthroat tribe. As the Bone Dragon entered the Bloody Mountain Range, they could see the huge city in the distance. However, in every corner of the city, collapsed houses, bricks and rubble everywhere, piles of ruins. It was like the remains of a city after being bombarded by dense artillery fire in modern warfare. The Bone Dragon landed in the center of the city. Several heroes quickly stepped forward to greet him. Blackthorn bowed and said, "Lord, we captured this city late last night. A small team of trolls escaped from the north gate, and there are a few captives willing to provide information. The remaining trolls were all annihilated." Fang Hao nodded. "And well done." As they spoke, they had already entered the chief's hall. The architectural style of the trolls highlighted violence and crudeness. Everywhere there were decorations made from the skulls or other bones of various living races, used to decorate. This hall, Fang Hao walked directly to the throne and sat down on the huge metal throne. A cold sensation instantly came from his backside. Immediately after, Blacksword brought another list. He said, "My lord, the spoils of war from this battle include 80,000 crawling spines, over 500,000 pieces of troll equipment, 72 Dragonlock ballistae, 15 siege engines." Fang Hao nodded and looked at the list in his hand. Blacksword mentioned some of the more important items. Besides the crawling spines, weapons, and equipment just mentioned, the list also included materials, food, and various gems and artifacts. From the warehouse, the harvest was quite substantial. "Blackthorn, where are the captives you mentioned in the conch?" Fang Hao put away the list and continued to ask. Blackthorn had mentioned the secret revealed by the captives in the conch. This was also why Fang Hao made a special trip. "Please, wait a moment, my lord. I have already sent someone to bring them over," Blackthorn said. Not long after, a tall female troll in tattered clothes was brought in. The female troll raised her head slightly, and when she saw the human on the seat, a brief look of confusion appeared on her face. She was clearly undead. How did she turn into a human again? But she didn't hesitate, kneeling on one knee. "Greetings, human lord." It could be seen that the female troll had been treated specially. Her broken clothes were barely draped over her body. From Fang Hao's angle, he could see her basketball-sized breasts and thick chest hair from the loose neckline. "What is your name?" Fang Hao asked calmly. "Human lord, my name is Citra. I am willing to become your slave, your most loyal servant," the female troll said in a low voice. This made Fang Hao feel a little curious. "I killed so many of your trolls. You don't hate me and you want to be my slave?" Fang Hao asked curiously. The woman had calmed down. "It wasn't you who killed the tribesmen. It was those outsiders of Baijie. You killed them and avenged us." Fang Hao was stunned. This female troll was quite clever. She turned Fang Hao, the enemy, into the benefactor of the tribe. "All right, tell me your secret. If it's helpful to me, I will consider signing a slave contract with you." "Okay, human lord. I am Caius's woman. Caius went to Mount Chaos this time. In the legends of the trolls, a true giant god sleeps there. Fang Hao had someone bring a leather blanket to put under his backside. Mount Chaos, giant deities." These two words made Fang Hao's brow furrow instantly. Fang Hao believed that this world had deities. After all, there were several statues of deities enshrined in his territory, and they did indeed increase the territory's attributes. But to say that a deity would slumber in such a barren mountain range, Fang Hao found it a bit hard to believe. To slumber in this mountain range. Then this deity must be faring even worse than he was. "You mean Caius went to find the giant deity to deal with us, is that right?" Fang Hao asked. The female troll, Citra, didn't hide anything. "Yes, human lord. The last battle with the undead caused a lot of dissatisfaction among the trolls towards Caius. There were many opinions against him both within and outside the tribe. So Caius went to Mount Chaos with offerings to receive guidance from the deity. Citra's status made it easier for her to understand Caius's situation than others. This was a situation where Caius was under immense pressure and couldn't suppress it with force alone, which was why he thought of seeking out the deity and the reason the Troll Alliance launched an attack on Bloodmaw during this time. It was also because Caius was not in the tribe, and they took the opportunity to directly occupy the city. Is there really a deity there? Fang Hao looked doubtful. Citra said firmly, "Every troll living in the Bloody Mountains believes that a deity slumbers on Mount Chaos, especially the Bloodmaw tribe. The succession of a new chief requires offering tribute to Mount Chaos." Suddenly, Fang Hao felt something was off again. Didn't the trolls worship the god of slaughter? He had previously discovered a statue of the god of slaughter worshipped by trolls in the Dragon Burial Cave, and just now in the city, he had seen the collapsed statue of the god of slaughter that had been blown up. Could it be that the one slumbering there was the god of slaughter? The one in Mount Chaos, is it the god of slaughter? Fang Hao asked the doubt in his heart. "No, my lord. The god of slaughter is the spiritual belief of the trolls. He brings the trolls invincible courage and strength, and the belief to challenge the strong. The giant deity, on the other hand, provides guidance and inspiration to the trolls in times of confusion," Citra said seriously. It seemed that these beliefs were deeply ingrained in the heart of every troll. "Has anyone seen the giant deity? What does it look like?" "This? I'm not sure. Only the chief of Bloodmaw is qualified to offer tribute to the deity." Citra hesitated for a moment before answering. Then, every time tribute is offered to the deity, is there any reward or any benefit? Fang Hao continued to ask. "They will receive guidance from the deity. Caius will bring the guidance back and pass it on to the other members of the tribe," Citra replied. Hearing this, Fang Hao had his own guess. There were two possibilities for this giant deity. The first was that the deity didn't exist at all, and it was a deity fabricated by the chiefs of the various tribes to control their people. When they encountered some difficulties, they would use the deity's guidance as an excuse to facilitate their orders. The second was that there really was a powerful creature that would provide some help to the trolls, but the possibility of it being a deity was very small, even impossible. "Do you know the location of Mount Chaos? Show me." The sand table of the Bloody Mountains was pushed out. Fang Hao got up from his seat and walked to the sand table. Detailed sand table, Cold Wind Mountains. Citra stood up and pointed to a place on the sand table. It was located in the northwest direction of the city, and the distance was indeed not close. "Are there any other people on this mountain?" "I'm not very clear about this, but it seems there are tribes living there, guarding the deity from being disturbed by anyone," Citra continued to answer. Fang Hao nodded, keeping everything she said in mind. He continued, "All right, you said you also know the location of the Bloodmaw treasury. Just lead my people to find it." "Yes, human lord, but I still hope you can spare me and the women in the dungeon. We pose no threat to you," Citra spoke again, bowing once more. All right, I will consider it. Black Sword led the soldiers in and took Citra out of the chief's hall. To find the treasury, she mentioned. After Citra left, the hall became quiet again. Standing in front of the sand table, the Lord's book emitted a faint light screen, scanning the sand table in front of him. Bloody Mountains sand table has been recorded. You can view the overall map of the Bloody Mountains on the Lord's book map page, similar to the previous sand tables. After being recorded, the entire map of the mountain range was entered into the large map. The terrain of the mountains within the mountain range, the winding roads, and the locations of the various tribes were all revealed one by one. Xu Yang had only given him the map of the route from the Rockhead tribe to the Bloodmaw tribe. The sand table, however, contained the map of the entire mountain range. It was clearer and more accurate than the map Xu Yang had given him. After recording the map, Fang Hao sat back on the throne. He continued to check the Lord's book. At the very beginning, when he sat on the chief's throne, the system had already issued a prompt about occupying Bloodmaw. However, he was talking to the female troll at the time and didn't have a chance to check. Bloodmaw tribe has become your affiliated city. You can rename the city here, and you can control all resources of the tribe and its affiliated villages. Bloodmaw. Tribe and Bloody Mountains felt a bit too bloody. After thinking for a moment, he looked at the map again. This city was located to the north of his main city and was the first barrier to deter the trolls in the north. So he simply filled in Town North City in the unnamed field. After conquering the rest of the troll tribes, this city would be the city that deterred the trolls in the north. Town North City was quite fitting. Naming successful. Town North City. On a city level, level 9, original city. Attributes, mineral extraction, plus 15%, gold coin tax, plus 5%, troll reproduction, plus 5%, internal strife, plus 50%. Description. A city with attributes can bring various different beneficial effects, accelerating the city's construction and development. The city's level was quite high. The tax and reproduction rates were the lowest among the several cities he had occupied. Moreover, it also added an internal strife attribute. Fang Hao specifically checked it. Internal strife. Residents in this area are difficult to manage and prone to riots. As expected, it was not a good attribute. Fit percent, which meant there was a 50% chance of internal strife, just like the Troll Alliance's resistance against Bloodmaw this time. Although most of the trolls in the city were killed, the city still needed people to manage it. This internal strife must not be kept, but how should this attribute be dealt with? Fang Hao pondered. System prompts continued to appear. Unlocked blueprints, fine stone processing plant construction, blueprint, large quarry, construction blueprint, Dragonlock ballista, production blueprint, troll house construction blueprint, troll warrior training ground construction blueprint. A level 9 city unlocked quite a few blueprints. Fine stone processing plant, wood 3000, hardwood 1800, stone 2200, stone brick 1200, iron 420, metal parts 120. Description. Through processing, stone bricks can be made into fine stone bricks with higher density. A factory for processing fine stone bricks. This instantly brought a surge of joy to Fang Hao's heart. When the Lord's mansion was upgraded to level 10, the material fine stone brick appeared. He hadn't expected to get the construction blueprint the next day, so he could arrange for workers to process it. This was simply getting what he needed when he needed it. He continued to check the second. Blueprint, large quarry, wood 4200, stone 3500, stone brick 1500, iron 820, metal parts 500. Description. In the large quarry area, large stones can be quarried into stone bricks. Stone collection efficiency, pull 115%. The quarry's 15% collection efficiency didn't change, but it added an attribute of finished product quarrying. Large stones could be directly processed into stone bricks without needing a second processing. This also reduced the consumption of manpower and time. Moreover, this type of quarry was suitable for mountainous areas like the Bloody Mountains, which had plenty of stones to quarry. He wouldn't have to worry about not having stones to quarry. The next blueprint also made Fang Hao's heart stir. Dragonlock ballista, tier 8 weapon. It was actually the production blueprint for the Dragonlock ballista. He clearly remembered that it was this type of ballista that had caused him to lose 3 bone dragons. It could not only attack aerial targets, but also be used as a ballista on the ground. It could be said that the power of this weapon was very strong. The remaining Itasca, Troll House Construction Blueprint, and Troll Warrior Training Ground Construction Blueprint didn't interest Fang Hao much. Troll houses could be built to provide housing suitable for trolls. The training ground could recruit a tier 5 troll warrior. which Fang Hao wasn't very interested in. It consumed troll stones and a large amount of food daily, making it less useful than skeleton soldiers. After checking the blueprints, Blackthorn walked in from outside. He said, "My lord, I interrogated a few corpses, and what they said was not much different from the female troll. It can be confirmed that she was telling the truth." After Fang Hao finished talking with the female troll, Blackthorn also left the hall. Using the speak with dead skill, he interrogated 2 troll corpses. Corpses could not lie to the skill user, except for not knowing the secret of the treasury. All other information was the same. This also proved that what the female troll said was true. "All right, I understand," Fang Hao nodded. Half an hour later, Black Sword returned with the female troll again, and behind him, several undead warriors carried treasure chests filled with gold coins. With a few thuds, they were placed on the ground. From the weight, it could be determined that there was a considerable amount of gold coins. "My lord, this is Caius's treasury, and it's also the spoils he's collected from various tribes over the years," Citra said again. Fang Hao looked at the female troll with some curiosity. She was tall and sturdy, with particularly prominent large breasts and thick chest hair. "You told me everything so easily?" This female troll, who claimed to be Caius's woman, had revealed everything so easily. "Human lord, I was just a gift sent from a small tribe, and I'm not as loyal as you might think," the female troll still said calmly. Citra was originally born in a small tribe. She was sent to the Bloodmaw tribe as a gift to appease Caius. Due to Citra's appearance, which was quite in line with the troll aesthetic, she was chosen by Caius to stay by his side. But this did not change the fate of Citra's small tribe. Within a few years, the tribe was eliminated in the internal wars between trolls, although she lived in Bloodmaw. Her status was only an appendage of Caius, and she had no feelings for Caius or Bloodmaw. She was just living numbly. Now that the undead had taken the city, she didn't want to die, and she wouldn't risk her life to keep those secrets. The female. Troll's tone had been very flat. Only when she hesitated slightly would there be a small pause, and no fear could be felt from it. "I'm not as loyal as you might think." These words were indeed quite blunt. "All right, I agree to sign a slave contract with you. If you can ensure that those women are obedient enough and won't cause any trouble, I can also spare them," Fang Hao said directly. Women and men were still very different. Men, after gaining power, were prone to developing greater ambitions, while women rarely experienced such situations. Fang Hao didn't mind wasting a slave contract on her, even if she didn't perform to his satisfaction. He could also kill her. "Thank you, my lord. I will manage them well and won't cause any trouble," Citra promised. Her expression still showed no change. Fang Hao took out a blank slave contract, and the female troll directly cut her finger and pressed it on it. The contract emitted a ray of light enveloping the troll's body. The two had already reached a contract. "Troll, Citra's current loyalty to you is 72 points. 72 points of loyalty was actually quite good. All right, remove the shackles from her." 2 undead warriors immediately came up and removed the shackles from her legs and hands. Citra moved her wrists and pulled the slipped clothes back up onto her shoulders. "Go change your clothes," Fang Hao continued. Although everyone wasn't very interested in the female troll's body, it was still a bit inappropriate to be dressed like this. "Okay, human lord." Citra nodded and thanked him, then turned and walked towards the right side of the hall. Fang Hao casually collected all the money boxes on the ground, a total of 2.72 million war coins, over 7,000 gems, and nearly 1,000 gold items. Caius's wealth exceeded Fang Hao's imagination. He had thought that these bare-chested trolls didn't have much money, but he didn't expect to find such a large sum of wealth. After putting everything into his storage space, Fang Hao continued to say to Anya, "Anya, search carefully and see if there are any valuable items. Oh, and don't forget to find the treasure chest." "All right," Anja agreed and called a few skeleton warriors, then ran up the stairs. On the other side, Bloody Mountains, giant stone forest. At this time, Zhu Yang led his 120 villagers out of the cave. Comparing with the map in his hand, he walked outwards. Everyone walked silently, carefully observing the surroundings. Suddenly, dense footsteps came from the front, rapidly approaching this direction. Hearing the footsteps, everyone's expressions immediately became tense. Had their movements been discovered and the trolls were coming to catch them? "Hide! Quick!" Everyone instantly dispersed and hid among the surrounding giant stones. Rustle, rustle. As a few people hid, dozens of trolls fled in panic, looking back to confirm, like deserters, covered in wounds and having abandoned their armor. Chu Yang frowned as he watched, and waited until the trolls had run a bit further before planning to come out. But just as he took a step, his footsteps instantly retracted. Swish, swish, swish! A sound of something cutting through the air rang out, only A few mantis people, carrying heavy swords, were seen standing on the stone pillars. Their eyes looked in the direction the trolls had left. They pushed off with their feet. Swish, swish, swish! They instantly leaped out, stepping on the stone pillars, and disappeared from sight. Damn, Naruto. Undead, looking in the direction the skeleton mantis. Man left. Zhu Yang's heart instantly tensed up. This was definitely an undead unit. Didn't they say that the undead had only built a fortress in the south and hadn't launched an attack on the Bloodfang Mountains? But why would they suddenly appear here? Judging by the fleeing trolls' equipment, they were from the Troll Alliance. Wasn't the Alliance attacking the Bloodfang tribe? Why were they being chased by the undead? What on earth happened up ahead to cause such a change? Moreover, aren't undead all rigid and inflexible units? Why were they so agile? The fleeing Troll Alliance, the chasing undead. Xu Yang's mind was a mess. Sir, are we still going forward? A farmer approached, his voice trembling slightly. Xu Yang glanced at the map, then looked at the direction where the trolls and undead had disappeared. He said, "Take everyone back to the cave first and block the entrance. I'll go check the situation and decide what to do next." Clearly, the situation ahead was no longer just a battle between Bloodfang and the Troll Alliance. Now the undead were involved. They couldn't afford to provoke any side. If they were discovered, none of them would have a good outcome. Obviously, something special had happened. "Okay," the farmers replied and turned back the way they came. After the farmers left, Xu Yang hid in place for a while longer. After thinking for a bit, he still walked in the direction the undead and trolls had gone. He walked cautiously for about 10 minutes. Suddenly, he felt a sticky sensation under his feet. Looking down, he found that he was stepping in thick, red blood. Xu Yang immediately hid behind a large rock. Looking ahead, he saw troll bodies lying in pools of blood. Indeed, those undead were chasing the trolls. And those undead must have been of a high level, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to eliminate these trolls so easily. Xu Yang hid quietly for a while longer. Finding no danger, he quickly crouched and walked to the troll bodies, beginning to strip them of their equipment. He could take these back and exchange them for a few days' worth of supplies in the regional channel. This would allow them to last a little longer in the cave. Save me. Suddenly, a body let out a painful groan. The sudden sound made Xu Yang's body tremble. He instantly drew the knight's sword from his waist and looked in the direction of the sound. It was a troll lying in a pool of blood, looking at him. The troll looked incredibly miserable, both arms severed and a shocking, large scar on its chest. It was only because of the troll's sturdy body that it could still call for help with such injuries. Any other race would have been dead beyond dead, seeing that the troll's arms were gone. Xu Yang also boldly approached and asked, "Didn't the Alliance attack Bloodfang? Why were the undead chasing you?" He hoped this dying troll could answer the questions in his heart. "Save me." The troll's voice grew weaker, still repeating the plea for help. Xu Yang sat down beside him, quietly watching the bloody troll. "How can I save you?" "I have nothing right now. Even if I wanted to save you, I have no way." He is our chief. "He must have potions on him." "Save me," the troll said, his gaze falling on another body. That body not only had no head, but was also cut in half at the waist. Blood and internal organs were mixed together, already dead beyond dead. Xu Yang's expression shifted. He went directly to that body, squatted down, and began to search it. Indeed, he found a life potion, a beast tooth necklace, and a few war coins on the body. It seemed he really was the leader of a small tribe. Xu Yang held the life potion in his hand and put the other items away. He returned to the injured troll. Seeing the human approach with the potion, a glimmer of hope for survival appeared in the troll's eyes. But Xu Yang didn't give him the potion to use. Instead, he sat down beside him. The troll's expression immediately became anxious. He could clearly feel his life gradually draining away. If he didn't treat his injuries in time, he would bleed to death. "Save me, quickly save me," the troll cried. "Out for help." Xu Yang sat down beside the troll, holding the life potion in his hand. He said, "This is my spoils of war. Why should I give it to you? You..." The troll's expression changed and a fierce violence flashed in his eyes. Xu Yang knew him, that weak human who clung to Begart. Like a clown, he had been fawning over the trolls. Now he actually dared to talk to him like this. He was practically courting death. But the troll also knew his situation. With his current injuries, he had no way to snatch the potion from his hand. "What do you want?" "We were allies before," the troll said. He wasn't stupid. He would get the potion first to treat his injuries, then deal with Xu Yang. Xu Yang weighed the potion in his hand, thought for a moment, and said, "How about this? Answer a few questions for me. If you answer well, I'll give you the potion. How does that sound?" The troll had no other choice but to agree. "Okay, ask quickly. I'm in so much pain." "All right. When did you launch the attack on Bloodfang, and how was the battle?" Xu Yang asked the first question. "Yesterday morning, we attacked Bloodfang, and Smoothly captured the city, the troll replied, grimacing in pain. Then why are you here? The troll glanced at the human and continued to answer. The undead attacked us. Everyone else died, so we fled here. What about Bagart? Is he dead? Xu Yang continued to ask. I don't know. We fled separately. I don't know how he is, the troll answered with difficulty, his voice growing weaker. Oh, Xu Yang replied and continued to ask, how is the situation at Bloodfang? Is it possible to go there? You want to go out? The outside is already occupied by the undead. Where are there any human cities? They've all turned into undead. You actually still want to go out. Although weak, the troll still mocked Xu Yang. Xu Yang now was as naive as they were before. He actually still thought the area outside the Bloodfang Mountains was a better environment, when in reality, it was already a living hell. Unfortunately, they knew too late. The undead had already launched an attack on the mountains. Hearing the troll's words, Xu Yang fell silent. He had a general understanding of the situation, but he wouldn't believe the troll's words. So many people were talking in the regional channel, and he had learned about races like humans, orcs, and dwarves. How could they all be occupied and killed by the undead? It must be that this troll was badly frightened and was just imagining things, and the battle between the Troll Alliance and Bloodfang this time was self-evident. The two sides of trolls fought to the death, but they didn't expect to be stabbed in the back by the undead. However, Xu Yang was also a little curious. How could it be such a coincidence that the undead launched another attack just as the Alliance captured the city? Could the undead be monitoring the Bloodfang Mountains? Suddenly, Xu Yang seemed to think of something, but he couldn't quite figure it out. Just as he was sitting on a rock in contemplation, a sound suddenly echoed from deep within the stone forest. Yang's expression was startled, and he immediately ran to the side, hiding behind a large rock again. Save me. You said you would. Save me. Swish, swish, swish. One by one, skeleton mantis men carrying great swords appeared again. They stood around the bodies, some crouching, some standing. The mantis man glanced at the troll on the ground, calling for help. He swung the great sword in his hand. Puff! The troll's head instantly separated from its body and rolled away with a gurgling sound. The skeleton mantis men rechecked the bodies lying in the pool of blood. After confirming that none were alive, they shot out again, heading towards the Bloodfang tribe. Xu Yang waited for a full 20 minutes. Only when nothing unusual happened did he dare to come out from behind the large rock. He glanced at the head, which was still staring at him with wide eyes. He could kick it away with one foot. He stripped all the loot from the few bodies. Carrying large and small bundles, he returned to the cave where they were hiding. It seemed that they would have to hide in the cave for a long time this time. Town North City, Chief's Hall. After Anya's search, boxes of items were carried down, besides gold and silver utensils and luminous stones. In Anya's hand, she was also holding a skull inlaid with golden teeth. Judging by the shape of the skull, it should be the skull of a human or an orc. What is this? Fang Hao asked. Anja stroked the top of the skull and said, I feel this is more artistic. If I take it to the auction in Lysis City, maybe I can sell it to those silly nobles. Since participating in the auction at the City Lord's mansion in Lysis City, Anja knew that some strange and unusual things, as long as they were related to art, could be sold for a good price, although she wasn't quite sure what art specifically was, but she just felt that this skull was very fitting with art. Fang Hao checked the skull's attributes. Skull remains. It had no attributes or characteristics. The only valuable thing was that mouthful of golden teeth. Useless. If this could be sold to nobles, are we short of skulls in our territory? We would have become rich long ago, Fang Hao said. Now that you mention it, it doesn't seem so artistic anymore. Anja held the skull in her arms and instantly lost some interest. She looked at the mouth full of glittering golden teeth. Then I'll take it back and put it in my bedroom as a decoration. Using a skull as a decoration, Fang Hao couldn't help but roll his eyes. She really wasn't afraid of anything. Who uses a skull as a decoration? Pull out those few golden teeth and throw the skull outside. Fang Hao motioned for her to quickly throw it away. Aren't gold and silver decorations enough for you? Who puts a skull on display? You collect arms and skulls. What's wrong with me having a skull? Anya grumbled, but still crunched and bit off the golden teeth. She threw the golden teeth into the loot box and casually tossed the skull out the door. Seeing Anya throw away the skull, Fang Hao continued to focus on the treasure chests on the ground. Besides the boxes filled with various spoils of war, there was also a glittering silver box in front of him, which was the platinum treasure chest that only transmigrators could open. This was the third time Fang Hao had obtained a platinum treasure chest. The first time was when he occupied the Shattered Skull tribe in the Cold Wind Mountains, and the second time was when he occupied the Blood Castle in the Moonlit Highlands. This was the third time, the Bloodfang tribe in the Bloodfang Mountains. From this, Fang Hao also discovered some characteristics. These 3 locations were not necessarily places of fierce combat, but they were all the leader cities of a region. As long as they captured the city of the leader tribe, they would get a sandbox and very high rewards. It was like killing a minor noble would never yield as much profit as killing a king. Fang Hao came before the platinum treasure chest. After praying a few times in his heart, he directly opened the treasure chest, obtained Overlord's Might chest plate blueprint blue, Overlord's Might gloves blueprint blue, Overlord's Might helmet blueprint blue, Overlord's Might boots blueprint blue, Overlord's Wrath battle axe blueprint purple, Slaughter idol construction blueprint blue, Giant spirit body totem purple, Pantheon construction blueprint orange, Trolls 372, war coins 899. Lights of various colors flickered. In an instant, Fang Hao caught a glimpse of an orange light. The imagined dark gold light did not appear, which left him somewhat disappointed. He first checked the orange blueprint. Level 1, Pantheon. Tough wood 3200, fine stone bricks 3000, cast iron blocks 420, metal parts 1200, traces of prayer 12, traces of divinity 5, rich essence 22. Description: the Lord's Manor reaches the stone castle level, allowing the construction of a pantheon to listen to the guidance of the gods. The attributes of the idols within the temple will be enhanced. Pantheon. The temple should be a place to place idols. But this shouldn't be enough to reach the orange level, right? Could it be that building a house for a god raised the level to orange? Fang Hao felt that it would be much more practical to give him a troop building instead. Moreover, even if the existence of gods was confirmed, he didn't feel any piety. After the initial excitement, Fang Hao continued to check the blueprints obtained. Overlord's Might chest plate. Category: chest plate. Defense: level 4 defense. Set effect: armor durability, plus 150%, attack power plus 5%, attack hit rate plus 115%, movement speed 5%. Description: the brutal troll lord, leading his overlord's army, conquered this land and enslaved all living beings. It seemed that this set of overlord's might armor was troll equipment. Moreover, with blue quality, the defense actually reached level 4 defense. That was quite high. With the added set attributes, it could be said to be top-tier equipment. He continued to check the second weapon blueprint. The same name, Overlord's Wrath Battle Axe, purple. Category: Battle Axe. Damage, level 5 damage. Ability: ignores the innate scale armor characteristic of living beings. Description: the Overlord's Battle Axe was raised high above the head, and with a heart-shattering war cry, the axe blade split open the dragon's neck, and blood flowed all over the altar. The Overlord's Wrath Battle Axe should be equipment from the same batch as the Overlord's Might set, but the defense set would take effect when the basic 4-piece set was equipped. It didn't require equipping the Battle Axe. This purple Battle Axe had already reached level 5 damage, and also came with the effect of ignoring the scale armor of living beings. Living beings' scale armor was a characteristic of a race. Dimitri's racial characteristic included the scale armor ability, which was the layer of scales on his body. Creatures like dragons and crocodiles also had scale armor. The description mentioned that the battle axe split open the dragon's neck, which proved the attribute of ignoring scale armor. This set of Overlord's Might armor plus the Overlord's Wrath battle axe could indeed form a powerful troll team. Next was the Slaughter idol blueprint, which he already had, so he didn't need to look at it much. The last reward was a scroll covered in special symbols, Giant spirit body totem. Category: Scroll. Description: records the method for drawing the giant spirit body totem.